Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
Best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves.
What up? What up? What up, world? Welcome to the Get Right Fantasy Network. I'm Mike Herrick, and tonight I'm here with, as always, on Friday night with Kender Vanderbilt from the Fantasy Football Tavern. What's going on, brother?
Hey, it's another Friday. Glad to be here with my buddy Classic, man. How you doing? How was your week, brother?
A long week of work. I had to travel to our state capital up in Albany, but other than that, just having a really, good week of work, and then just kind of hanging out and doing Christmas shopping. It was good.
Yeah, look, Christmas.
What about
shopping.
yourself? Anything fun?
Yeah, well, so I've got a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. So this was the first year, the 3-year-old. Last year, couldn't really get into Christmas. Still learning life. This is the year that the oldest can kind of get into it. So I'm getting into it, and that's kind of fun. And my 3-year-old has also discovered the sleeper app on my phone, and why I always stare at it, and has discovered, like, I want to see that guy. Now he wants to know every name and picture of all the players and who's the purple guy and who's the blue guy. So I get to have a couple beers and just have fun with that.
I love it.
So I'm enjoying that. I'm like, oh, we can work on this. We can train you up.
We can
early.
build. I like it.
I am building a 3-year-old fantasy stud who is going to destroy all of your sons and daughters. I am so sorry, but I'm building a dynasty here.
I love it. I love it. Always great to see. First, we're going to just do a quick breakdown of tonight's show. Tonight, we're going to be going over a select amount of games from the Week 15 slate. Normally, it's the 1 o'clock window. We're going to be doing the Cowboys, Panthers, Chiefs, Browns, Dolphins, Texans, Jets, Jaguars, Commanders, Saints, Ravens, Giants, and Bengals and Titans. We're going to go over those teams, and then Rasta and Phil are going to deal with the other group at the 11 o'clock hour. So make sure you guys stay tuned. We're going to just hand you guys over right after that. We will give you guys some of our takes on each of those games, and we're going to also answer your questions live at the very end of the show. So make sure you guys throw those questions in the chat, and we will get to them as soon as we can. Also, remember, we have our super chats on. So if you want your question answered right away, please make sure you guys use those super chats. We're going to answer it. We'll stop the show and answer your question right away. Please just make sure, a friendly reminder, make sure you guys let us know the format of the league, full, half, PPR, tight end premium, you name it. Let us know, though, so that we can give you the best answer possible. If you're new to the show, please make sure you guys are checking out our weekly lineup for the rest of the season that we have. Only a few weeks left. We're going to be here weekly. So make sure you guys check out our weekly schedule. We will be back tomorrow with the Sweet Life football with Jack and Cody, as well as myself on Sunday morning. I do the Active and Inactive show, as well as then we're going to have our Monday show for waiver wire ads, Tuesday with Tycoon. Wednesday, we're going to have just a good breakdown of stuff going on. We can't really do buy low, sell high anymore because trading's over for now. Then we have Phil with his Dynasty show on Wednesdays, prop betting on DFS on Thursdays for Phil on the Extra Point, and then we're back here on Fridays. So make sure you guys check out all of our shows on the the Get Right Fantasy Network. So let's get right into good old 49ers. Well, we have this was the spread last night. But it was a very bad game. Rams winning 12-6. field goals only. We're really not going to spend a ton of time. Albert, always a pleasure to see you here, my friend. Great to have you. We're not going to waste a ton of time on this particular game because honestly, it was no touchdowns. There wasn't a ton of things going on in this game that really mattered. The weather played a factor, throughout the beginning of the first quarter. First half really. But let's take a quick breakdown of how things happened. Debo had a crap game. Guerrero, not too bad, but not great. George Kittle was productive. Juwan Jennings was not the wide receiver one that you wanted in that game. Neither was Cooper Kupp, getting you nothing.
3 targets.
Oh my God, 3 targets and 0 catches. I wanted to just like every team that I had in any league in the playoffs, I pretty much fear as if I'm going to lose. Matthew Stafford had a crap day. He's not really great outside. It was nothing close to anything he's been, anything that he's been doing recently. Indoor games, he seems to be doing tons better. But let's talk about the one guy that actually I think a lot of people were surprised to see had a really shitty day, and that's Brock Purdy. And I know you have a few takes on it, so I'm going to let you take the floor here about Brock Purdy. I don't have anything really leading into you, but I want you to kind of talk about, you talked to me prior to this and you have a whole thing about Brock. So I want you to go into it and talk about your Brock Purdy take.
Hey man, if you need me to rant about Brock Purdy, I'm more than happy to. After I have had to suffer through all of the, the Herd, Colin Coward, Nick Wright, all the screamy, shouty shows that are just going on. I am so sick of hearing like, oh, Brock Purdy, bad game, all these mistakes, all this stuff. This is the year that Patrick Mahomes isn't startable in fantasy, right? There are like multiple teams that are on their 3rd quarterback this year trying to find something remotely startable. I mean, you're a Giants fan, I'm a Chicago fan. We live perennially in this situation, right? CJ Stroud's supposed to be the next Patrick Mahomes, right? Dog shit.
Yeah.
Right? But Brock Purdy sucks, right? They should cut him. CJ Stroud doesn't know how to throw 2 touchdowns in back-to-back games.
Unfortunately.
Brock Purdy had MVP votes last year, but he's terrible, and they should think about not paying him and moving on. CJ Stroud barely startable. Like, there are so many quarterbacks that aren't good right now. Carr is dust. Stafford's looking like he's definitely on the wrong side, and he's having some rough games, right? There are a million quarterback-hungry teams. Bryce Young, yeah, he had a decent game, but I'm not ready to go there yet, for sure. So there are so many teams that I can say, like, they have a massive problem. Purdy is perfectly startable. He has very nice footwork.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he makes some bad decisions. They're NFL players. They all make terrible decisions. Have you seen some of the offensive coachings? Sometimes they're told to do stupid shit, right? Sometimes the play call is awful. Right? Remember the Cardinals? All they did with Johnson, they just run it up the middle. Running up the middle. For like a yard and a half a carry. I'm not going to blame him, right? I'm just saying my take, this is more of a dynasty take, but I think everyone who has Purdy in dynasty or like, hey, what do I do in redraft? It was a rainy, bad game. Did you look at the coverage? Did you look at the separation? Debo dropping touchdowns? That was a perfect spiral. I think he has a dent between. Look at the replays. It was gorgeous. It was
it was in his basket. It was in the basket.
It was awesome. Yeah. What about some of those on the run while getting hit throws that Juwan Jennings dropped several 3rd downs that absolutely were Purdy was getting harassed more than the wide receivers were.
100%.
So why are we blaming this all on Purdy? And why are we saying that the team and their record is all on Purdy? They could have 10 wins and people would still be saying, Purdy. No. Just because you get paid to talk shit about NFL players doesn't make it true. This is why I like fantasy analysts over NFL analysts. I think, honestly, we play a different game. We get paid way less, if anything. And so we have to be right in order to win games.
What are you talking about?
Right? Like, you know what I mean? So I don't want to take forever on this, but
I completely get it, man. Brock Purdy is a lot better from the eye test. He is much better than what I've expected him to be in the beginning. I think he's a really solid quarterback. I don't think he's that bad with his particular choices of throwing the ball. He had a couple that, last night for sure. And everybody has those. He looked great in some scenarios. He has no problem with pressure in his face. He's not one of those quarterbacks that, gets happy feet and then doesn't know what to do with the ball. He actually has no problem with the blitz coming in, and then he throws to his target, and it's pretty damn accurate. I've seen many occasions where he just stands in the pocket, gets hit while throwing, and just gets right up and goes. Like
when Ayuk was healthy, his ADOT was like leading the NFL. It was scary to blitz him. You were getting hurt.
And it has a lot to do, a lot of the things that have happened with this team have been through injury. They've been beat up on their left side with Trent Williams being out. If you saw the broadcast, it was quite hilarious. I'm like, wait, is that Trent Williams? Nope, he's upstairs. But I will say it does look like Trent Williams is more hurt than what people are leading on to. He's riding a scooter.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. If you've ever had an injury with your foot and on a scooter, that's not a good thing. I can see him being out for probably the rest of the season if they're not making the particular the playoffs or anything like that, which right now seems unlikely.
Yeah, he's going to play about as much as Devondre Campbell.
But with him in, his stats are completely different. They're going to have to really address that in the offseason because, Trent Williams is a Hall of Fame left tackle.
Easy.
Problem is he is not there to help right now, and they need to find that moving forward. They definitely need protection for Purdy. Otherwise, I mean, Kittle has another couple years left in him. They found great choices, with Ricky Purcell. They have Brandon Ayuk on the hook for a couple more years. They have Deebo Samuel for a few more years. They have Christian McCaffrey for maybe another year, but they definitely have to address.
Really cheap, good wide receiver.
Well, that's what I mean. Like he's a solid wide receiver 3 or 2 overall. And then, everything else is pretty manageable. Their defense is spectacular. They have a couple years with that group. So it's, that defense can't really do much when they're on the field 90% of the time. So give him, right now, yesterday, we need to give him a little bit of slack and, move forward with this game because honestly, they definitely didn't deserve the flack that they've been getting as of late. So let's move right on and move into our Sunday night slate. Right now, we're going to be starting with the Cowboys, who are 5-8 right now, facing the Panthers, who are 3-10. Over/under for this game is 3. Or sorry, the line is the Panthers are favored by 3 in this game. Wow.
Panthers favored, baby. Let's go.
Panthers are favored by 3. This is fantastic. Over/under is 43.5. I think this is within I think it's 33 games that they have played. This is the first time they have been favored in one way or another, which is great. I see this game as a very interesting matchup. Panthers have been doing very well down the stretch, even though their record doesn't reflect it. They have been keeping some good teams on tilt for a couple of weeks with the Eagles and the Chiefs. So this week, let's talk about some of the injuries. CeeDee Lamb. He was limited Wednesday. He should be fine. I don't see anything going on that's crazy. He was just on the report. I wanted to bring it up. Jalen Coker, he's going to be back. He had a full week of practice, so he should be good as well. But let's talk about some must starts for this particular game for the Panthers. I think we can both, I think one guy that we're going to talk about in a second, I'll bring him up in a minute. But let's talk about the one guy I think we can both agree on, and that's Chuba Hubbard. He is a must start for the both of us. And then for the Cowboys, of course, CeeDee Lamb and Rico Dowdle. I think we can both agree that those two are the clear starters for this team. But let's talk about two guys that we're in like the maybe pile for right now, and that's Adam Thielen. Now, Adam Thielen has come back with a vengeance. He's been playing pretty well as of late, considering he's on a pretty crappy team overall. But for the last 2 weeks, he's been really coming into his own and kind of coming back to the way he was in the beginning of the year of last year. So, a few underrated stats, 20 receptions off of 25 targets off the last 2 weeks from weeks 12 to 14. So he's been playing pretty well in these last few weeks of coming back from injury. How do you feel about him?
I'm pretty bullish on him.
Nice.
I think I've got the ECR rankings because all of our rankings are kind of all over the place. It just looks like the market rankings are about wide receiver 30. I have him up at like wide receiver 25. I'm considering moving him higher.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's pretty simple. Like it's you look at a small sample size. I know it's 2 games, but the third game was kind of his first game back. 2 back-to-back games where we're talking 10 and 11 targets. Basically, it's 99 yards and 102 yards. So basically back-to-back 100-yard receiving games. An amazing touchdown catch in one of them. Like, it's pretty clear he's just their overwhelming locked and loaded wide receiver one with volume. We know they typically get points scored on them, so you've always got garbage time situations, but they've been keeping it close, so it's usually a competitive game script throughout. They would prefer to run the ball, so there is, a situation where maybe the pass completions are in the low 20s, and that could be an issue. But with the way their offense works, I really see Thielen garnering, 25 to 30% target share. So, and I think I'm closer to the 30 plus. So in that case, I can't see most games where he's not getting 7-8 targets. We know his targets are typically pretty catchable, and he's amazing at finding ways to catch the ball. He's pretty crafty with his body positioning, tracking the ball. So I'm bullish on him. I'm obviously a little higher than market. I'm playing him I'll start him as a wide receiver too, but I'm definitely not letting him leave my flex. I like him over a lot of other really uncertain options where the game script can get weird. I find him as a nice combination of, he's got some ceiling, but he definitely has a safe floor. He's not going to Cooper Kupp you. Like that just happened. We didn't think that was possible. It's literally not possible for the Panthers. There is nobody else.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Even since coming back, his first week back in week 12, he had four catches. But after that, 10 and 11 each week, getting 10 and 11 targets is quite insane. His average targets are 8.3 per week. So that is something significant. If we look at everybody else in the last few weeks that have had that amount, I'm looking at Drake London. Who else? I'm seeing guys like Adam Thielen. Then we got DJ Moore. We have guys like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase in those realms. A lot of people are currently, that have those particular numbers. Nico Collins. A lot of these guys are number ones on their teams, doing pretty well. This is just a crappy offense with a not the best quarterback out there. But at least he's getting volume. It's decent volume too. Bryce Young has definitely played better in these last weeks. For me, he's a little bit more of a streamer for a QB2 league, 2 QB league, maybe super flex leagues. I would possibly play him if I had not many options. But another guy that I really wanted to talk about is Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson is right on that, fringe ECR is right now at tight end 13. I probably have him around there or tight end 12. So how do you feel about Jake Ferguson moving forward now, using guy, he has Cooper Rush. This is a favorable matchup for the most part. How do you feel about Jake Ferguson?
So for me, it's an offensive ecosystem thing. I'm just not seeing that the tight end usage. It's just not prominent, being held back to block quite a bit. They're turning into the Panthers, if anything.
It's a fair point. But I actually like that take.
Ferguson's honestly probably not even as talented straight up as Jatavian Sanders from a prospect profile standpoint. So you just look at how many games. Ferguson is much more like Pat Freiermuth. We're talking 3-4 targets. He's not running big long routes. Right. Yeah, when he really had his big seasons, he was catching high levels of touchdowns, and the Cowboys had the number one offense. Right. Yep. They have an abysmal offense, and I think he was very much tied to at least a competent offense. Now that that's not the case, he's just not scripted. I think it's a situation where they'd like to run Dowdle 25 times if they can. I think Dowdle could have 150 rushing yards this game. I just don't see more than like 23, 24 completions. I don't see heavy yardage, and I think the touchdowns, if there are many, are mostly going to go to other areas. There's no way he's catching a touchdown over CD in terms of the target or Dowdle. So he's just too far back in the pecking order. I don't see any upside. I would rather even play guys like Gesicki, because I think the offense as a whole has that game has a chance to become a little more fireworks showy because the quarterback talent is present, where I just don't see it in this game. Right. That's kind of my time. I want at least some upside at the tight end position, because if I'm going to risk 2 points, I need some sort of ceiling to balance out the risk reward.
What about Brandon Cooks?
I'm kind of off of it. I think the chance of re-injury, I think the quarterback throwing him the ball, he's typically a deep ball threat. So you need a good deep ball thrower in order to think that's going to connect, right? We know like people like MVS aren't very talented. We know this, but Derek Carr has a pretty decent deep ball, right? That's kind of why he's only startable under certain conditions, right? This is a similar situation to Cooks, where I think Cooks is okay, but he hasn't had his acclimation time. He's probably going to have a lower snap share than most people like. Opportunity is a big deal. And if you already don't get the ball that often because you're a deep threat, it's just hard for me to see. I think if he has a good game, it's more on the lucky side of things. That one play that happened that usually doesn't. I don't see on the bottom end of things. I think there's a very real chance he could have almost no production in this game. I because that's a range of outcomes with how abysmal the team is and their season's over. I'm kind of in a situation where I just don't want to take the risk. There's so many other players on the waiver that I would rather say, hey, they have a better floor ceiling combination with way less disastrous outcomes.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the Cowboys tend to use more of a 12 personnel, using both Ferguson and Schoonmaker. Schoonmaker was involved and continues to be here and there.
Big thing too. He's starting to get 3-4 targets here and there, and he looks good with them.
He does. He definitely looks solid overall. The biggest thing that I've seen so far, Brandon Cooks coming back. Even with him back, he does split the time with Jalen Tolbert. So they are, the main three guys out when they run three wide receivers.
Toasted Tolbert. Tolbert became instant fried chicken. And I do think it's good. It's better for CD to have a competent offense with Cooks back in the lineup, draws some level of attention. It's one of those situations where it's better for CD, but it doesn't do anything for Cooks. Him being there it helps take some amount of pressure away, allows CD to do some things.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely agree with that. All right, let's move forward and talk about let's go talk about the Chiefs, who are 12-1. I say that very loosely. Browns are 3-10. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are favored by 4.5. And right now, the over-under is 43.5. Some big injuries to be aware of. Now, these are kind of, I wouldn't say a big deal, but something to keep an eye on because it's been really odd, the reports that have come out as of late. Well, one is Cedric Tillman. He's out. They already ruled him out. Don't play him. Concussion. Still in concussion protocol. He did practice this week, so there's optimism that he could be back next week. But right now, he's not playing. David Njoku is the other guy. Reports have said very unlikely, but he hadn't practiced all week, but he's still listed as questionable. It's a hamstring. There's no way. There's just no way. You don't mess with a hamstring. No, and normally with reports like this, I pretty much tell myself no, and I'm not going to touch it with a 10.
It's like the Kenneth Walker thing. Like, dude, we all kind of knew, but this one's weirder. But
yeah, well, we're not going to be talking about Kenneth Walker, but if you are listening, he is doubtful for the game. So get him out of your lineup. Zach Charbonnet, load him up. We'll, if you guys have questions about that, definitely throw them in the chat.
And Ross is going to have some fun with that one. He's got some personal stuff going on with that one.
Well, yeah, we were talking about that on offline, and he's definitely got some issues that he's got to work out.
Chat, you can very realistically convince Rasta. He's ready to be convinced to sit Saquon Barkley for other running backs.
Oh, my God.
I want to let you know that is a real text message we could clip.
Yeah,
that's a conversation. So by all means, feel free to give Rasta lots and lots of shit about that later and see what he says.
Hey, I can't say anything. I've had to either choose between Zach Charbonnet, Rashad White, or David Montgomery, and I have had multiple people tell me, I also had the option of Derrick Henry too, and a couple other people who are like, Derrick Henry, you have to sit Derrick Henry, and I laughed. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
I love the question though. I mean, I feel like that's a playoff conversation, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you guys watch this show. You probably watch a lot of other stuff. We know there's a difference when you get to playoffs. You are talking about Aaron Jones, You're talking about locked and loaded starters, but you got to bench one because you're the guy in the playoffs, which means your team's somewhat loaded. It's better than a lot of other.
Loaded.
It's good to great. It's somewhere in there for the most part. So you really you're the one that you don't ask these questions in the regular season because you don't want to be that guy that's talking about like, who do I sit? Jamar, you know what I mean? Like,
it's the worst situation ever. It's when you have the abundance of riches and you have no idea what to do with them. Anyway, let's get back to the Chiefs and the Browns. The one guy that I would mention, if any, and they did mention if David Njoku was out, that they would probably run a tight end by committee. If that is the case, if you wanted to look into this guy, Jordan Atkins is probably the best option. They don't really have anybody else that's really viable, but he is their top option otherwise.
And he's decent too. He's
yeah.
when he's played, he's been kind of a touchdown.
I've always liked
bust,
him in the past, and he was a good, solid player for the Texans when he was there, and then he's been playing well with Jameis Winston in the last few weeks. So.
He can get you 5 for 50. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. So must starts that we have for this particular matchup. One is DeAndre Hopkins. I think we both can agree on him. Travis Kelce, we agree on tight end 4 due to ECR. Isaiah Pacheco is definitely being ramped up, and I
like him a lot. Yeah, I think he's too low in the rankings. This feels like a good Pacheco game. He clearly had the majority snap share. He was eased into it, but he had a lot. I think 18 or 20. I got to go look at the stats, but he had several touches. I think this week he ramps fully up. He's going to get 20 plus opportunities. I think he's wheels up.
Yeah, I think that I'm looking at his snap share now real quick because I was going to ask you that in a second, but he seems to have ramped up a little bit.
He had a 46%.
46.
Yeah, so he had 18 touches. Yeah, 14 carries, 4 targets. He had 18 touches on less than 50% snap share.
Yeah,
doesn't take a lot of math to say, hey, that's a good equation for success.
Yeah, Browns are in this case they are middle of the pack. Top of the second tier. They are 7th best against the running back for the whole season. But if we look at since week 10. Have kind of fell to, number 11. So they're still a solid defense with Myles Garrett, and, they play very well. It's, this team has, it seems that the Chiefs tend to run on their defense and kind of lean on it a little bit. So they've kind of switched their philosophies from being high fly to kind of a heavy run recently. So just be aware of that for the Browns side of the ball. Well, also we mentioned here, as a must start is the defensive special teams. If you guys play your defense, that is one that we mentioned. They are number 3 in ECR at the moment. So I don't hate that as well. It's a good matchup for this team. And anything against Jameis Winston, just because of the perspective of him being able to turn the ball over. He's a gunslinger and he doesn't care. And he's just one of those guys that he's going to go out and try to make a big play. So it's always worth kind of going against that sometimes, even if he kind of beats you over the top. Sometimes
a lot of pick six potential, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can all go back to the Denver game and, hope and pray that happens twice, but it's very rare. But it's one of those things that, yes, he is vulnerable to turning the ball over. It's not worth, it's not a horrible play if you're looking to go that way. And to be honest, they have a they have a decent schedule moving forward. So it's not a bad choice for a playoff run. For the Browns side of the ball, I think the one player that you got to play is Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Jerry Jeudy, I think Jerry Jeudy is currently, I was looking at stats before. Well, I got the last 2 weeks he's been killing it. I'm trying to look at 4 weeks, which spread it out a little bit, but never mind. It wasn't as good as I thought it was. But he's been killing it the last 2 weeks. I think he's wide receiver 2 in the last 2 weeks, if memory serves me. Or
just behind Jamar Chase. And I think
he's 3 in the last 2 weeks since week 12. So
if you go back 4, week 11, he kind of blew up for huge. 142 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
His 4-game sample is, man.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
That's a lot.
From week 11. Numbers. Yeah. Oh, you're right. Week 11, he's been tight end or wide receiver 2. So, I mean, honestly, that's a huge plus. You're definitely playing Jerry Jeudy. The other guy that we wanted to kind of take 2 seconds to talk about was Elijah Moore, his counterpart on the other side of the ball. He's wide receiver 40 right now. Is he a must start for you? How do you feel about him?
I just can't make him a must start yet because I haven't seen him be tremendously talented. Like sometimes we get a little too caught up in but they're going to have so much opportunity. Well, it's implied opportunity. He's had many 10+ target games where he's come down with the ball 3 or 4 times. So he's not been great at finding a way to catch the ball He hasn't done a ton with opportunity.
Yeah.
And the team is basically done for the year, right? So when we look at like Sincere McCormick is going to get all the run in the world because the team's not going anywhere. They're just not going to mess around with the other two guys. This is a situation where, do they look at some other folks? I don't know. I'm a little more worried about Elijah Moore. I think it's I'm not saying it's a trap, but I'm saying I'm still pivoting a little bit when I can because the Chiefs are an elite defense. Like they vary across the board. They're extremely good.
Yeah.
And Elijah Moore has not done a lot with 10 targets. So does he need 15 to be a good game? You know what I mean? Like I'll start Neighbors because I know he'll catch, 5 of his 10 targets, but what he can do with those targets is a lot different than what Elijah Moore can do. Like, let me ask you, there's another 10 target a game guy that you're very, very familiar with because he plays in the Giants and he's not Malik Neighbors. He's the guy that you're not starting. And that's Wan'Dale Robinson. You tell me the difference between Wan'Dale Robinson and Elijah Moore. They're 10 to 12 target a game guys. They catch 50% of the balls and they have 0 yak.
The difference is with the quarterback. I'd rather have Winston, and to be honest, in those situations,
you can at least get some ADOT there. You more than 2 yards, but still, it's not that much better. It's similar
right
enough
next to each other. But
I'm just saying that the floor really is a Wan'Dale 3-point game on 12 targets. Like that can really happen with Elijah Moore. So a lot of shows and places are just going to say fire him up because of opportunity. I'm slightly hesitant, but Njoku being out, that's a big deal. That's going to add a lot of opportunity. And Njoku and Tillman, now you're getting into an area of you almost have to start him. I'm not fully there yet. These are playoff teams that are mostly paying attention to this, right? And if you're a playoff team, I have hesitancy starting Elijah Moore for my playoffs. If I have a pivot, I might consider. So definitely, if that's a start sit question, let us know in chat. We can kind of go into that a little bit more. I have this question myself in 3 leagues where I have Elijah Moore, so I've had to do my own wrestling with it. He's just borderline almost for me, right? I think 40 is good. I actually have him at wide receiver 36, so I'm more bullish. I think the rankings are going to elevate now that the Njoku news came out. I don't know. That's kind of my take on him, though.
Okay. Now, the only other question that I had for this particular game was, for the quarterbacks. I mean, we've been seeing how Patrick Mahomes has been playing lately, and it's been kind of garbage overall. He gets his team to their win, and, they find a way in one way or another, depending on, who throws a flag or not.
He's not making the long stuff happen. I feel like if he really wanted to make it happen with Worthy, but Worthy's just not Tyreek Hill. If Worthy was Tyreek Hill, he would be great this year, right? I think it's close.
And that's the issue is, a lot of it has to do with Worthy. He had the one blow-up game and then everybody, was on his junk about it. And, it's like, come on, he's not ready yet. He's still a rookie. He's got to learn. He's got to get bigger. He's half the size of what normal a profile type wide receiver. He's more of a just small gadget guy that we've seen. But beyond that, I mean, who would you rather play if you needed to? Jameis Winston or Patrick Mahomes? They're pretty similar in ECR and how the season's been going. You're playing
definitely Winston. 100% Jameis Winston.
And it's mostly in my
Chiefs
opinion,
are going to win this game. Jameis, if he has 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, that might be all you need to go from 0 points to 20.
And it's really just because of the volume. I mean, Jameis throws every week for 40, at least 40 times a game.
Yeah, and then this game chasing, I wouldn't be surprised if he's close to 50 attempts.
Yeah. 100%. And I rather have some piece of that than Mahomes, who's barely broken like 30 in a couple of the games. And they haven't been the quality of target that we've been wanting. Even Travis Kelce's numbers have fallen. DeAndre Hopkins seems to be the only guy that's actually been favored the last few weeks to do well in each matchup. But otherwise, I'm just not touching Mahomes unless I absolutely have to.
Healthy Pacheco now, too. It's like they could run a lot. Kareem Hunt's going to get plenty of touches, too,
Yeah. It's going to be one of those types of weeks.
If I'm wrong, fine. I'll go down as another guy who bet against the Chiefs and was wrong. But we've been right all season by saying don't. We were probably the first people that said nope. I'm off of Mahomes.
I don't know about the first, but we were definitely one of the top.
Well, none of us drafted him. I guess we could say it's easy to say. It's easy to fade when you don't draft him. You know what I mean? So there's that.
So let's move on to the Dolphins and the Texans. Dolphins are currently 6-7, while the Texans are 8-5. Texans are favored in this game by 2.5. The over-under for this game is 46.5. Make sure if you guys are in the chat, make sure you guys are throwing your questions in there. We will get to them at the very end of the game. If your question lines up with something that we're going to talk about, hey, will answer that question as we go. So make sure you guys throw those questions in the chat and we will get to them. And remember, super chats are on as well. We will stop the show to answer your question if you guys throw in a super chat. All right. So some
anybody super chats, by the way, I will. I'm just gonna go.
Oh,
crazy
we'll dive.
I will be happy to take a shot of the worst liquor imaginable. I got a little bottle of Malort. If anyone's been to Chicago,
No,
you may be familiar with this toxic vile poison, but a buddy of mine wants me to really, really not enjoy Sunday. So there you go.
So injuries for this particular game of the Dolphins and Texans, we have Waddle. He's been limited in practice on Thursday with a hamstring. He's going to play, but he does have a little bit of a re-injury history with hamstring injuries and all types of injuries, to be quite fair. He's pretty injury prone overall.
Had to be a hammy. Anything but a hammy, dude.
Yeah, had to be a hammy. So he's going to be limited, but it looks like he's going to play regardless. Right now, must starts are Tyreek Hill. He's ECR right now, is 6. So, yes, you're going to be loading him up. We have Tua Tagovailoa, who is currently QB9 in ECR. I mean, honestly, he's been playing very well as of late.
He's looked really good. I mean, he was about to break a completion record, man. Like, he's killing it.
He's
accuracy. He's trying to break Drew Brees' record, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was 27 for 69 in weeks 11 to 14. So for the last few weeks, he's really been on schedule and doing well. He's QB2 on the year. QB2 from week 11 to 14. So really good. We have Jonnu Smith at ECR's tight end 6, and Devon Achane at number RB 6 right now for ECR. So
receiver 6, tight end 6, RB 6. That's a loaded offense.
That's a loaded offense. And Waddle, I think, is really one of those people that is on the bubble. It's one of those people that if you have a better option, you might want to go with it just because of the re-injury history. Or if you want to ride with it, go with it. I mean, it's up to you. This is now it's getting back to what it used to be. This offense all year has been very stagnant and finally is coming back into its own. They're getting Jonnu Smith a little bit more involved, which is great to see because they never had that before. So teams aren't really planning for it as much as they used to.
There's just too many people to guard that can all have yards after the carry. That's a tough. I would imagine playing the Dolphins is pretty tough for a defense. Like if they decide they're going to be on, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's just a full track meet. So I think that could be a pretty fun game. I'm actually looking forward to watching this game.
Yeah,
and I agree with you. I think if you're in the situation of like, do I start Waddle? As soon as you ask that question, take a breath and realize, hey man, one, you've been benching Waddle for a long time. Isn't it nice that he's actually playable? Don't go to like, oh, I wish he sucked because then this decision would be easy. Dude, he's got an elite ceiling. It's nice that he's usable. I'll put it this way: if he has a really, really nice game, 6-7 catches, 80 yards, because he's got some yak. If he has that level of performance, I mean, the rest of the playoffs, he's a must start because he's kind of lining it up together. A little bit of a tough defense, but someone's got to be open, and it might be him. Tua seems to be the difference for me. I don't know when I watch it.
100%.
Tua just doing his thing. It looks like he's unlocked the whole offense. Because keep in mind, Waddle was the one we were picking on earlier, but Tyreek has also been god-awful because of Tua or the lack of Tua, too. So now that he's doing his thing, I feel like the whole offense, what we thought the offense could be, I feel like we're starting to see cracks. Like I'm already getting excited for like Dolphins futures for next year. Like when the team does its thing, they look good.
Yeah, but everything revolves around Tua, so they need to find a good replacement just in case he's hurt during the season, which unfortunately seems to have been happening lately.
How disgusting a situation to be. That team does revolve around Tua.
Yeah, and
I mean, who's more injury prone, Tua or CMC? I mean, we have a new 101.
Tua.
I think in the most fragile player.
Well, I wouldn't. Both these guys have been playing through tough injuries, and to be honest, I'll give Tua the credit that's due. And
can we
he's
throw
playing
that
through?
on Phil's show? I want to draft a most injury prone.
Oh my god, I don't think I could do it because I wouldn't want to draft them anyway. For the Texans, we got Joe Mixon as a must start, of course, and Nico Collins. Those guys you are starting without question. A couple guys that we did have questions about. How are we feeling about CJ Stroud after getting Nico Collins back from his injury? How are we feeling?
I'm not there. If you look at his 4 or 5 game sample, he's averaging around 22 to 24 completions per game. That's not enough to get it done. Now, the nice thing is Nico does extend his ADOT. So if you're going to have low completions, kind of like Russell Wilson, it's nice if you can throw a deep ball. But he's not throwing that deep ball in the end zone, which is a big deal. Nico Collins is not running away from defenders. He's great at tracking and catching. He's a savvy route runner. He is not running it away with it for the touchdown. So Nico's not getting, Nico and Stroud are not going to get these long touchdowns. Even if they get a little bit of yardage, we know rushing quarterbacks are the cheat code because of the disparity in how quarterback point systems kind of work. And, right now Stroud's just not taking advantage of how the quarterback position scores points in fantasy football. He's being a decent game manager. I mean, he was turning the ball over a little bit too much towards the mid portion of the year. He started off great without interceptions, started to get into him a little bit. Now he's game managing a little bit, but I don't see the upside. I feel like every game that they win, it's just a Mixon show. He gets too much of the touchdown equity to really give Stroud a 3 touchdown upside game at all, and he can barely get to 2. So he's very similar to Mahomes, but with less ceiling, which is an ugly spot to be in.
I actually rather have Patrick Mahomes than CJ Stroud. Looking at some of the numbers that I'm looking at now, since week 9 up until now, I want you to take a guess where CJ Stroud lands in the quarterback realm.
Well, I mean, I think he's definitely outside the top 12. I'm gonna go low because I think it's been bad. I'm gonna give him like quarterback 15.
Wow. Well, you're being very, very, very generous because that's not even close. He is currently QB 27 since week 9. Had no idea until right now, though, looking at it. Guess who's above him? Brock Purdy. Guess who's below him? Anthony Richardson and Kirk Cousins. So there's been, the last few weeks have been real tough on these guys. Patrick Mahomes has been playing a little bit better as of late. So to be quite honest, I'm probably not starting CJ Stroud unless I have no other options. I almost rather play Russell Wilson. And, I wouldn't be out of my mind. He is QB, 16 in the last, 5 weeks. So, I mean, that is a tough one to look at. And let's talk about 2 other guys from this Texans offense that we've been kind of not been talking about a lot, which is kind of strange because they are usually top options. And that's Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz. How do you guys feel with them? Are they worth a shot this week? Are you willing to play either one of those guys?
I am not. Okay. I'm willing to play Tank Dell. I don't want to go that far. There are plenty of lineups where, I would play him because I still think he's going to see 5 or 6 targets. I'm fully off of him. I don't see the upside anymore. He's not catching touchdowns. He's not getting red zone targets. He doesn't have the ADOT. He doesn't because Stroud's not airing the ball out. So everything we loved about him from last year, wipe it away. He still has the talent. It's not how the offense works, right? Patrick Mahomes, do we think he's less of a quarterback or is the scheme different? I mean, there's platitudes of both, right? But I think we both think in the playoffs, we're probably going to see vintage Mahomes do his thing, and he's just as good as he needs to be. I'm seeing a similar situation here where I'm not blaming him. It's just here's how the offense is going. I don't see it, right? I'm starting Thielen over him because Thielen's the actual wide receiver 1, and he's getting the red zone looks. He's a more valuable fantasy football player than Tank Dell is going to be for the rest of the season. So I am benching him. He's basically a low-end wide receiver 3 for me. Yep. He's kind of right around like him and Elijah Moore is actually close.
Yeah, I think he's lower. Yeah.
I lean Elijah Moore over him, and I think that's probably the best example I can give you of where Dell is at in my personal, like how I'm confident I'm feeling about playing him in a playoff matchup.
I agree. I mean, if you've looked at his numbers the last few weeks, I mean, since Nico Collins has returned, the first week that he returned, they both had 7 targets. After that, everything has skewed right to Collins. Collins is 9-11, going to 5-4 with Tank Dell. So, I mean, right now, I think that unfortunately he is unplayable in most leagues. I don't think he's anybody that you can really trust at all. Dalton Schultz is a tight end like fill-in for a guy like Evan Ingram, who is currently out and who we're going to be talking about next. Guys like him, Njoku, fill-in. He's a good fill-in guy at the bottom of the tight end barrel. So if you need a guy, I don't mind him there. But he's not anybody I'm really fully trusting week to week.
Yeah. If you're losing your matchup, Schultz is not a guy that's going to get you back.
No,
So he has no comeback mechanic. My
no,
example
he's
is
a
always
solid floor.
Gesicki can get you nothing, but he can get you 20. Schultz cannot get you 20. It's not in the range of outcomes.
Yeah.
So play accordingly. If you need 4 catches, yeah, Schultz is probably a guy. He has such a lack of upside because I don't see a world where CJ Stroud's doing enough in this game. So
Agreed.
I get it. It's kind of a desperation play, but it is playable.
Okay. All right, so let's move right along to the Jets and the Jaguars. Like I said, the Jets are 3-10. Jags are 3-10 as well. So the battle of 3-10s this week. The Jets are favored by 3.5. The over-under for this game is 4.5. So first and foremost, of course, are the injuries for this game, and there are quite a few, unfortunately. The big one that we want to talk, I'm gonna start with one that is kind of we have no control over, and that's Evan Ingram. And he's out for the season. He has a torn labrum in his shoulder. Right now, season-ending surgery. He's done. Farewell, my friend. I will miss you this season.
Hey, he's kind of your boy, right?
He's my boy. I hope he has a strong recovery from this. So good luck in your recovery this offseason. We'll see you next year. Really like what he's been doing this year, and kind of hope he's okay. Another guy that we're going to talk about real shortly is Davante Adams. He didn't practice for most of the week, but he practiced on Friday. He's good to go. Breece Hall is the other one. Breece Hall is the big question mark in this game. And to be honest, it's a little weird the way things have been kind of going with him. He didn't practice Wednesday. He didn't practice Thursday. He did practice in full today. The reports are saying that it's promising and hopeful. And they also said this last week as well. And he did have a limited practice on the Friday prior to the game. So, to be fair, I don't see it as promising and hopeful. I see this as them kind of just being like, yeah, he's okay. He's fine. We hope he's okay. Everything's going to be fine. And it's like that meme that you see all the time, or the GIF that you see the little dog sitting in a house with like the fire burning. It feels like that right now. Honestly, I don't understand why they don't just shut him down. You're 3-10. You're not going anywhere. He's your lead back. Shut him down. Look at what you have behind you. You're fine. So we'll wait and see how that turns out. Come back on Sunday morning. I'll answer that question right up to kickoff. Because, I mean, right now they're going to say he's going to play. They're expecting him to play, blah, 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 blah. We'll wait and see. Right now, if let's just say he's healthy, we're going to go into he's healthy, he's playing. Davante Adams, you're playing. Garrett Wilson, you're playing. Been playing real well as of late. Breece Hall, are you playing him?
Trying not to. I mean, there are so many game scripts where I'll give you the weird one. The Jags suck. And
would you play Rachaad White over him?
Oh, Rachaad White's like a top 10 running back for me this week. He is.
Oh, fair enough. He's same for me. I'm trying to give guys on the lower end of the spec. What about his counterpart in this game, Tank Bigsby?
Tank Bigsby or Breece Hall. Tank just has no ceiling for me. I like him. I play him. But if Breece was healthy and playing, I would take Breece's 50% snap share over Tank, I think. Because I'm just not going out playing Tank Bigsby over Breece if Breece is healthy. Like, I don't think I can physically do it. It's closer. It's closer than I think. Like, I'm really thinking about it. But for me, it's Tank's the problem, not Breece there. Yeah.
Because right now, ECR for Breece Hall is 82 on Dynasty Pros, just to give you guys a perspective.
I don't think he's playing. Like, in my honest opinion, like, and if you got to like really level it, I don't think he plays. I don't think he has any reason.
I don't think so either. I don't have a reason for him to play either.
You got two rookies that you want to see how they do.
And I was just going to say his counterparts are actually favored they are actually ranked higher than both of them are ranked higher. I think
those rookies are good, man.
29 and 33 currently. 29 for Allen, 33 for Davis. Both look good. Would you play either or of these guys? If let's just say you're on a roster that's kind of at the bottom and, trying to, if your league has a situation where you can get yourself out this week, are you playing one of those two guys if you needed them?
I actually like both of them. I mean, the Jags are like the dream matchup if they get a start, right? This is one of those, like, either one of them could full Charbonnet this thing. right?
Wow.
Now, probably not Charbonnet because neither of them are getting 83% snap share, right? Because they're going to vulture each other.
Jags are 29th against the running back.
I mean,
just
like
to get perspective.
the other week, did anyone think they were like both of those running backs were going to be as productive as they were like together? Like normally when that happens, you're like, oh, I'm screwed. They went 50-50. They went, RBBC. They both were fully startable and quite good.
And Davis got the touchdown.
Yeah, Davis got, and he looked good doing it.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
I'm a Braylon guy, but I scouted the hell out of Braylon, and like you have to understand, Braylon is so ridiculously young that he is just going to get better and better. And people don't think when you get to the NFL, you're like, you see it, that's who they are. People forget that rookies get better. They have to learn the NFL. They got a lot to learn. And I think Braylon, he literally couldn't legally drink in the United States at the start of the season. That's how young he is, dude. Like he's got a lot of room to grow. And Isaiah Davis, very talented. He was a pretty popular fourth round. Third round NFL, fourth. I'm thinking of fantasy drafts. For like 4 rounds, he was a guy that was kind of going in the fourth round as like an interesting name. He wasn't always even drafted. I liked him quite a bit as just the Jets are one of those ambiguous backfields like past Brees, so it was kind of interesting. But yeah, I like both. The long story short here is I don't think Brees plays. I am very happy starting both of those running backs. Yep. They're right up there with like I think I like both backs over even like a Sincere McCormick because I think that offense is so dreadful where I actually think the Jets are going to be able to move the ball quite a bit on the Jags. I think they could score pretty good amount. Where like the Raiders, okay, you have all the volume, right? Well, there's plenty of teams where the running back has all the volume and they can't do anything with it. That's not how the offense does anything. Like Sincere McCormick's a guy, I think he might be able to get 90 rushing yards, but that's all he's getting. I don't think he's getting anything else. He has to fall in the end zone and have a good game. Braylon Allen caught 4 passes, and I think that's the floor. 50% snap share catching 4 passes. My God, with 60%, what can you do?
And Rodgers is not one. Rodgers is one to check down. He is somebody that has no problem.
He'll check down in the red zone.
A lot of these vets have no problem going through their read quick and then going, well, there's a guy wide open to my right and 5 yards deep. Done. Like they don't think twice about it because they know that they're going to get 5 yards plus another 10, 15 because these guys can run so quick and get up the field so fast. Honestly, I like both these guys. I agree with you. I think they can do well. Another person that I would consider, another thing that I would consider for this game, the defensive and special teams for the Jets.
And they're available.
Decent. They're available everywhere. So if you're looking for a streaming defense this week, they're not a horrible option. Mac Jones has been playing a little bit better lately, but he is prone to turnovers. He is prone to making mistakes.
He's seen some ghost a time or two in his day.
And to be fair, he might know this defense, but not that much with the group that he's had. You're definitely playing you're playing Brian Thomas Jr., you're playing Tank Dell. I think both guys can be viable. Tank Bigsby. Bigsby is more of a flex option, in my opinion, low-end flex option. But if you need him, he could be available. But I do
very
think
playable.
I think this is going to be a tougher matchup than what people think. I think it's actually going to be a lower scoring game than the 40 that they're predicting. I think this might hit the under comparatively.
This could be a punt fest.
I don't know. Well, I want to say it's going to equal what we saw on Thursday, but
except it'll be sunny.
It'll be sunny and it will be a little bit better weather. Well, maybe I haven't checked the weather in Jacksonville, but my thought process is it should be something like that. Maybe, 17, 14, something like that. Something in that realm. So we'll wait and see how that game goes. Overall, there's not much that we wanted to talk about in this game. You're not playing guys like Conklin or even, Brenton Strange is a borderline right now.
He's a dynasty hold. Like he's done some things, but you're not taking a swing on him in the playoffs.
No, in the playoffs.
The Jets D is just actually too competent. You don't know if they're going to take a day off. If the Jets defense decides to play defense, though, remember playing they are so good across the board. I'm not taking a flyer on their pass rush. So yeah, they might have given up already.
You're talking about you're not taking a flyer on Strange. Like, yeah, I agree. I'm not taking no.
Yeah, and I guess what Parker Washington is kind of similar, where it's just like, look, if he was playing Indy, I love him as an upside. Things could happen, right? He could do some serious damage, right? He's like, I would easily play Parker Washington over a Tank Dell in a plus matchup because they're kind of they're showcasing him. They did a little while ago. Not in this matchup. I don't love it.
I don't either.
I think the Jets have at least an opportunity to like put up 40. Like the Jags could just be so done, pack it in, and the Jets on paper, if Rodgers decides to play good football, they're so stupid talented on offense. Like they could put up 40 points. And dare I say, like they kind of should if they have their crap together. They haven't for a long time, but I won't be surprised if they put up 42 points, right? And every single one of them is startable as it gets across the board. Quarterback, both running backs, Devontae and Garrett Wilson. I can see a world where you just wanted to have a lot of them this week. And if you had the gumption to start them, this was the matchup. You just got so down about the Rodgers thing. So I generally am a little bit bullish on this game because Rodgers, he's not the guy that's going to take the game off. I think he's the type of quarterback that says, finally a cakewalk. I just want to go have some fun and throw 7 touchdowns.
Hopefully.
He's the type of player that would do that versus, dude, I just want to hit the club, man. Like, can we get out of here? He's not that guy. He likes being on that field. There's a very real thing here. There are teams and quarterbacks that I think would pack it in. I don't think he's one of them. He's trying to earn a place back next year with the owner and everything. So they have something to play for.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's completely fair for that. All right, I think that's all we're going to talk about for that game. Let's move on to the Commanders and the Saints. Please make sure, guys in the chat, those that are watching, if you guys have start-sit questions, throw them in the chat. We're going to be getting to them at the very end of the show. And if they also work for our particular game that we're going to be talking about, we'll try to incorporate it into the particular conversation. So make sure you guys throw those questions in the chat as well. If you have a question that you want answered right away, throw in a super chat. We'll get to them. We'll stop the show just for you. So let's get into this Commanders versus Saints. Commanders are 7.5 point favor. Commanders are favored by 7.5 points. My bad. Commanders are currently 8-5 and in the head of the division. Saints are 5-8.
It's a lot more wins for the Saints than I kind of thought they were. Does that surprise you? When you see the Saints 5-8
run. Yeah, they had a big run in the beginning of the year, and then they kind of just fell off. When Derek Carr got hurt, and then he got hurt again. Yeah,
dude, I feel like all the 3-10 teams would beat the snot out of them.
Yeah, I mean they beat a couple of good teams too. So their over under for this game is 43.5. Couple of big injuries to be aware of. Alvin Kamara, he's fine. He's playing, so don't run off and say, "Oh no,
he's got the veteran flu."
Fine. Yeah, he's got the veteran flu. I like that. Derek Carr, he has a broken left hand. He has been ruled out.
Different from the veteran flu.
He has been ruled out. I think he's listed as doubtful at this point.
The fact they didn't rule him out right away, though. Like, what's stupider, the Carr not being ruled out when, dude, it's over, or the Breece Hall? What are we doing here?
This one, he broke his hand. Like Breece, whatever you want to test that particular situation, whatever.
Like when he was questionable, I was legitimately wondering, did you read the report wrong? Like, are you questioning if his hand is broken or if he's questionable to play? These are different questions, right? Like, yeah. What? Broken hand and questionable. Absolutely unreal. I'm kind of getting sick of the coach talk, though. I'm very into how much money the NFL makes from like our industry here in fantasy, and yet they like absolutely crap on it. I don't know. As a grown man coaching in the NFL, I just, me personally, mini rant here. What percentage edge do you get? Do you actually think the other team?
0.
Oh my goodness, Breece could play. We got to watch film on him. These are gross. Like, what are we doing here, guys? I'm just saying, just like a shred of integrity. You get paid millions of dollars to play a children's game. Can you just? The economy is pretty crappy. Can you throw us a bone? Football is the one thing we got this time of year. Can you at least be honest? Can we do some Dan Campbell? Love him.
Oh, love Dan Campbell.
He hasn't lied at all.
No.
And guess what? He's beating the crap out of all you coaches that are like, oh, man, we can't tell him what's really happening.
Did you see the thing with Jahmyr Gibbs? And he was like, I think it was like a TikTok thing or something stupid on social media. And it posted the their code words and stuff that are on like the board behind them.
Oh yeah, I saw.
Someone asked him, they're like, "So what would you do? What are you going to do with Jahmyr?" And he's like, "I don't care." Like,
what's Jahmyr going to do to you? You're asking the wrong question.
It was because he did it in front of a whole thing, and he's like, well, if you guys can't beat us with those words, I guess there's a wrong. Like, he was very cool about it. And, he probably did talk to him, but at the end of the day, it was not as bad as what it came out to be. And it was like, come on, guys. Like, a lot of these some of these coaches and some of these teams are very forthright, and they will like make these guys out like the day of. Like, they'll wait until Thursday, and then they're going to be like, the reports will be like, they're not optimistic or whatever. Some teams, they'll be like all the way up until Saturday, and then they're going to be like, oh, I don't know. And it's like, come on, guys. Like, he didn't practice all week. Like,
you knew
example
several days ago. Or these are the same coaches that are like, the player thinks that if he has yellow laces versus red, like, coach, I'll take the fine, but it matters to me mentally. Yeah. Like, no, you can't do that. Yeah. But in the press conference, right, you're going to be like, oh, no, I don't know if he's going to play. Yeah. You're a hard ass to your players, but you are lying to everyone, and we all know it, and you don't care. So who's a bigger piece of shit? I'm just saying, like, don't follow Pete Carroll out of the league, guys. Okay, don't do it.
Like, like David Njoku is a perfect example. They said that, like, all these positive reports, yet he didn't practice all week, and it was a hamstring injury. I'm like, come on, just say if he's playing or not. It doesn't matter. No one cares. And at the end of the day, if you have to game plan your whole game around David Njoku, we have a problem. I'm sorry. Like, come on.
3-10 Browns.
Come on.
You're that scared?
Come on. Like, anyway. All right, let's get back to the Commanders and Saints. I mean, must starts for this game. You're starting Brian Robinson Jr. You're starting Terry McLaurin. You're starting Jaden Daniels without question. You're starting Zach Ertz. He's definitely been getting back up there in what you would do. Another DST that we're talking about is the Commanders. I'm not going to lie. I have them everywhere. And you know why? Buddy. It's because they're starting their second string QB, Jake Haener, over Spencer Rattler, which I don't understand. You draft a kid to be your guy after Carr, and you don't want to see what he has, and you did use him a few weeks, and you're not going to play him more. Come on. Like,
you got to give him the reps, man.
It does. Give him the reps. Let him be out there for this game. Who cares? You're 5-8. You're not making the playoffs. You're not getting into anything. Just get him out there. Let him enjoy the day.
Yeah. And don't give me that we want to keep him healthy.
Oh,
like, no. You want him not to be Bryce Young. Don't give me that you want to keep him healthy. No, he needs to be able to take a hit. You find out if he's fragile or not, dude.
Just let him be out there. And honestly, this is the game to do it in. I mean, Commanders do give up points, through the air in most situations. But Jaden Hader is not a guy that I have any confidence in. But I do have confidence in the defense facing him. So I pretty much the Commanders were the one defense out there that I pretty much scooped up everywhere that I could. And the other one is for the game that we're going to talk about next. But other than that, Alvin Kamara, you're starting. He's going to be active. Juwan Johnson is another guy that you should definitely keep an eye on. He is a big, tall wide receiver, essentially. Yeah. So he is the guy that I want in that grouping. MVS, I don't feel comfortable with him as much as I would with Derek Carr. I liked him last week, and he did okay. He's been playing pretty well as of late. He's one of those guys that you're either going to be getting 3 for 4 for 150 yards and a touchdown, or you're getting like a catch and a half for, or
he dropped 2 passes that led to interceptions because that's how bad it can go. So, is it fair to say that MVS is the know your opponent, know your game script? You know when you're starting MVS. If you're hopefully screwed and you need 30, you have a guy. You got a dart throw. Any other situation, you might start the running back that'll get you 8. Or the
would you rather play MVS or Nick Westbrook-Akine? They are incredibly similar.
I go Nick Westbrook-Akine.
I would go with Nick Westbrook-Akine.
I think the Commanders' defense is going to destroy the Saints in a way that I don't think the Saints have more than 175 passing yards.
It's Bengals. So, I mean, Bengals or...
the Bengals defense is obviously a target. I just don't see that. Like, MVS has to catch the touchdown. He can't even get there in yardage. Like, he can't fall down at the 1. That's not going to be enough. It's too much for me. I like in the notes. I think you were pretty astute. Like, if Carr's hand was magically not broken, like they said, it might have been. Like,
if they lied to playing, if Carr is playing, I'm playing MVS. I think now that I know that he's not, I'm not playing him.
I mean, who knows if he's even the target? Like what if they roll out just a bunch of randoms and say let's pack it in? I don't know.
I don't like it.
I'm not watching it.
No, I mean, unless Red Zone puts it on. McNicholas and Rodriguez, I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole until I know more about what's happening. I understand that they are the number 2 in this particularly good offense, but at the end of the day, I don't know which one is going to do better.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You if there was just one of them, you'd actually like.
Yeah.
There's
like
a legitimate
if Rodriguez was
case.
inactive, I have no problem playing McNichols. If McNichols is inactive, I have no problem playing Chris Rodriguez.
You have to imagine they have the entire fourth quarter at a minimum to run. And what Rodriguez had 13 touches for 90 yards the other week. Like, yeah, they're back.
And they're both good. They're both solid. And I think McNicholas has a little bit of a hold on number 2. But at the end of the day, I don't trust
the team next year though. Where Rodriguez probably is.
Well, that's kind of my point. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care enough to use one of these guys. And if it's a playoff matchup and you're having to use one of these guys, it's because your league is in a 16-team league and you have no other choice. So,
yeah,
I mean, at that point, we're not going to talk too much about this game because there's not really much to talk about.
But if you're screwed or if you're in a 7-bench league, I'm in a few 7-bench leagues where
waivers definitely hold them.
I mean, there's nothing on waivers in a 7-bench.
Yeah, no. McNichols and Rodriguez, you are keeping on your bench in most leagues, even 12-team leagues. You want them on your bench.
Like Kenneth Walker is the night game. That's screwing with people. There are a couple night game injuries. Swift questionable for a night game or a Monday game. There's some like bad juju stuff. Yeah. If you have to get real silly with it, this is like, I think we're saying this is a legitimate upside option. We want to avoid it for the above reasons.
I don't think
very obvious.
I'd rather try to grab Travis Homer and hope I can get that instead.
I would start all these guys over like Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, Javonte.
Yeah, but if you're that low, it's not worth starting.
You're probably not in the playoffs either. to be real, right?
I was just gonna say you are probably not in the playoffs if that is the case. So, with that being said, let's move on to the Ravens versus the Giants. Ravens are 8-5. Giants are 2-11. Oh God, this game is ridiculously dumb. It is. Ravens are favored by 16. Over under is 42.5. Honestly, we are not going to talk more than 2 seconds on this game. I don't even want to talk about this game. I'm a Giants fan. I don't care about this game. We're going to get destroyed. Every Giants defender is pretty much hurt at this point. 2 of the 5 offensive linemen are pretty much hurt. Everybody on this team is pretty much hurt. Right now, Drew Lock is not going to play this week. He is in a walking boot. Tommy DeVito will be the starter for the Giants. Yeah, I hear you good. You're all set there, big guy. And then, yeah, but there's no like notable injuries to anybody not playing or anything like that. So we're good on that aspect. You're playing Derrick Henry with confidence. He's my running back 1 on the day. He's ECR right now is number 1.
First time I've seen, I think, an over under of 100 rushing yards for any running back on the season. And I'm like, yeah, I'm actually going to take the over, right?
And I might. I don't know though. I might take the under, and it's really just because of his haircut. He cut the dreads off. For those that didn't see it, you should. It's where he had all his power. I've always believed that the rat tail had all his power. It's a little weird that he doesn't have his dreads there anymore. Lamar Jackson, QB2. Mark Andrews, tight end 9. Zay Flowers. You're playing all these guys. They are very, very, and this is one of the best matchups they'll ever have. For the Giants side of the ball, let's talk about that real quick. Tyrone Tracy. You can play Tyrone Tracy. I think Tyrone Tracy.
This is a big question. Asking for a friend who maybe owns Tyrone in a few leagues they'd like to win, and this matchup is scary. And let's just say their team is pretty stacked and they have options, and they don't know what to do with Tracy. So I need to hear some knowledge.
I really like what Tracy's been doing the last few weeks. As he's just very involved. He's currently running back 19 through weeks 10 through 14. He's been touching the ball a ton. Right now, he's had 19 targets for 12 receptions for 100 yards. No touchdowns off it. Unfortunately, the Giants are the problem is he has no ceiling. He's more of a floor guy. Just because the Giants' offense isn't explosive, they don't score touchdowns. It's just pure volume in this case. He's been doing really well with what he's had. 52. He has his yards per average are 4.3. He's doing very well through the tackles. They've been Giants O-line has been better. Let's just say better than last year, and ultimately he's been getting a lot of quick dump offs and being very involved in the passing game more than Singletary. He's definitely taking the lead back role. I like him a lot in this particular matchup, and I think it's more because you have no other choice. I like him more than a lot of other guys that are in certain matchups as well. Malik Neighbors, I don't trust him, even though this is a good matchup. I just don't trust Tommy DeVito. That's my problem. He last week did not get he didn't even touch the ball until I think the second half, if memory serves me. They didn't start throwing him the ball until the second half. And Malik was asked after the game, how do you feel about it? He's like, I'm frustrated. Like, why wouldn't I be? I didn't get the ball until the end of the game. Ask the coaches. Like, it's starting to get a little out of hand with what's going on currently. I don't know what to do with the Giants. I have no clue. I'm definitely starting the Ravens defense. If you can find the Ravens defense anywhere, you should.
Well, they haven't been scoring particularly well, so I found that they're on waivers in a surprising number of.
They had a rough
because
few weeks.
You check the game log and you're like, oh, they're not good, but the matchup is so juicy that I feel like in leagues where they're just a little not on point, you can get them.
He right now they're all over the place because they had 2 or 3 weeks that they were outstandingly bad. And it was really like teams were rolling them like the Bengals and stuff. They would get them at negative points and they're a good defense. So a lot of people dropped them at the bye week too, which was in week 14. So a lot of people dropped them instead of keeping them on their bench. So
Commanders got dropped because they were on bye. Ravens got dropped because they were on bye.
So you had a lot of potential in that. So if you can get them, I would. I'm not playing Darius Slayton. I'm not playing Wandell unless I have to. Like Wandell is a PPR guy that I have no problem playing if I have no other better options.
Wandell over Slayton though?
Yeah. And it's really just because of the concept of where he lives. Wandell lives in the 5 to 10 yard radius comparatively to Slayton, who's a downfield guy. I rather trust the Wandell part.
With a pass rush, you need the short yardage. Yeah.
And he has a safer floor overall. So for me, I just feel a lot better about it. But at the end of the day, it's for like a 14-team league where you have no other options. Like I'm playing Wandell in a league where I have 5 or 4 flex spots and you need it. Like that, I'm gonna play him over like Parker Washington. Like I have no problem doing that.
What about Bellinger?
Bellinger is not a bad option, but the problem is that Tommy DeVito is just so bad that it's hard to trust any of the options. To be quite fair, it's just in these scenarios, I'm hoping for a couple points, and it has to be for Bellinger. It has to be full PPR because I don't trust him in a standard. I don't trust him in a half PPR setting because he doesn't score enough to make me like he doesn't have any touchdown upside. I just don't trust it. So I'm not going to lean down that road for any of these guys. You're playing all your Ravens. Just play them all. You can play Bateman. I think Bateman's a good play too. If he's healthy and out there, he has been practicing. I think you can play Bateman. Shit, if you're in a really, really deep league, Nelson Aguilar ain't a horrible pick. I think you can play him too. Especially with Deontay Johnson being out this week on suspension. So, yeah. I mean, if you want to ask your question about Tyrone Tracy, I mean, I see in your questions, would you play him over the backup running backs for the Jets?
So Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. Let's say we get the news 2 a.m. because
let's do the Schefter 2 a.m.
Yeah, we get that. I mean, who do you like there? Because it's like we know that in a neutral matchup, it's clearly Tracy above. I think several of them.
No, I'm taking Braylon Allen, and it's really because of the matchup. Tracy can be used, but he's going to get a low. I think.
You think you get similar floors, but the ceiling is the difference maker there for you?
Yeah, because Braylon Allen's ceiling is higher than his floor, to be fair. I think the floor for Tracy is 8 to 10 points in
Okay.
full PPR.
Okay.
James Cook, I'm playing James Cook over. I'm playing JT. I'm playing.
So you're all good, James Cook, because obviously last week
It's gonna be
he
one of the roughest games he plays, but I think
Josh
you're
Allen
gonna
said, "I'm
have to."
sorry, but sit down."
And that has no. And honestly, it was because of the gameplay and how they did things. I can't imagine that being the case moving forward. Like I can't see that. And maybe it's me. I'm looking at numbers right now from weeks 10 to 14, and I don't even see Cook on the top 24 list. So it scares me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still looking for him. I'm scrolling. Oh no. Don't be in the hundreds. Are you really in the hundreds? No, you can't be in the hundreds.
No, he's definitely not.
I play you consistently. Oh, there you are. You're 18. Oh, he was hiding in there. Anyway, his name hides. I would play him over Swift, and it's really only because of injury, and it's a Monday night.
Monday game. Yeah, that one is
injury. Monday night game does not make me want to play Swift in one way or another. Everything
no backup too. It's not the matchup.
No, and it's all negative. Roshan Johnson's already been ruled out. I'm assuming Travis Homer is the best pick if you have Swift.
And I think Tracy is just like outside of matchup. You're starting Tracy over Swift. I think sometimes
outside the matchup, I would probably do it, but I think maybe not. I would probably
with the current state of the Bears offense. I guess I just say like in a neutral script.
Well, honestly,
Swift is getting 4 touches. Where like the 10, I can't unsee the 10 targets last game.
Both matchups are really good against the run. So Ravens are good against the run. The Vikings are good against. I'm not either way. Pacheco's kind of like my line right now. Pacheco is clearly volume, but he has a better offense and more upside for touchdowns. So I'm going to go Pacheco over Tracy for that particular two. So there's a lot of people I would rather play over Tracy, but I have Tracy as an option if you're in a desperate break the last scenario. If you're in a playoff scenario, he's a low end flex for me. And that's if you're in a full PPR league. If he's half or anything less, I pretty much don't want to touch him. So
love to hear it. He's in my lineup so far. It's one of my higher buy-in leagues where I nailed everything. This is probably the best
we were
team
talking about it. Yeah,
I have ever drafted in my entire life. It's gross. I traded for Tracy in this particular league, so we'll see. I can't undo him. And I was definitely thinking of you when I made the deal. I think I almost texted you. I'm like, oh, here we go, big winner. So this is one we're gonna do it together with Tracy. Make a good one.
So next, we're going to move on to the last game of our particular conversation, and that's the Bengals versus the Titans. So make sure you guys throw those questions in the chat if you haven't already. We're going to get to those as soon as we're done with this particular game where we will answer all your questions. Please make sure if you guys haven't, if you guys are, you checked in and then you're like, I'll watch these guys later. That's fine too. If you're going to do that, we're going to have these all on timestamps. We're going to have everything for you to look back on to go each game to see what we talked about and how we talked about and all our takes on those guys. So make sure you guys check those out. But right now, the Bengals are 5-8, which they are the best 5-8 team out there. They're going to be going to Tennessee to face the Titans at 3-10. Cincy is favored in this matchup by 5. The over-under for this game is 46, which is a great number. All these numbers are screaming great for this particular game. Couple of injury news that we need to talk about. Joe Burrow, he's fine. He was limited Wednesday with a wrist and I think a calf injury or something like that. He's fine. They said he's good to go. He's going to be out there. He's off the injury report. He just needed a day or two. Will Levis is the other guy. Right shoulder. He practiced all week, though. He's
throwing shoulder, right?
Oh, yeah. He's been throwing. He's been okay. They said he looks good in practice. Everything looks good. Here's one that I'm not 100% on, and I'm not sure how this is going to work out.
I've been tracking this one a little bit.
I have been too. Tony Pollard, he didn't practice Friday. Did practice the other 2 days, but did not practice Friday. That's a big red flag. When you do not practice the last game of the week, it's just not a good look for you. All reports, as per Terry McCormick, who is a beat writer, I believe, for the Tennessee Titans, he says that he should be good to go on Sunday.
That's the report I was looking at. Yeah.
Come back to me on Sunday, and I will tell you if he's going to play or not. So right
You
now,
got something going on Sunday?
yeah, Sunday morning, always a show, 11 o'clock. Make sure you guys are here.
This
Active and
is
active.
definitely the day where I finally show up, right? Like playoff time, right?
Oh, you got to show up. That's the day. First day of the playoffs. I need somebody here.
I need emotional support that day
I'm always here.
myself. So like we're gonna have to be there for each other. I'm with you. Where's your vibe with Pollard?
Right now, I think he plays. I think it's just one of those like he played all week.
Full send.
I
20
think
carry.
I think they're managing his particular reps at this point. I don't think it has anything to do with like he tweaks something or anything like that. I think that this is more of a managing the reps. They've been giving him the ball a ton.
He's one of the most consistent running backs in all of football right now. He's just so good for like 18 to 20 carries. He's looking
71
good
carries,
on them.
71 carries in 5 weeks. He's been 310 yards or 315 yards, roughly 4.5 yards per yards per average, 2 touchdowns. He's getting the ball a ton with targets, 15 receptions off 21 and 98 yards. I mean, he's doing very well overall.
He looks so good on the field too. Like
he looks fantastic.
I'm not trying to watch a lot of Tennessee Titans games and be real with you, but I got Pollard in a lot of spots, so I check and like red zone. He makes red zone a lot, and it's not because he's scoring touchdowns. He makes red zone because he juked the defender out of his damn shoes.
100%.
Like the double comeback stuff. Like he's not athletic like Saquon, but he is crafty and shifty in a way that I honestly, I'll be there. I bet on him because Pro Football Focus said that he was actually secretly one of the best running backs down the stretch when he was healthy.
100%.
And I trust them implicitly because they really go the extra mile. They watch every snap of every play. So I drafted him fairly heavily thinking, look, there's legitimate RB1 upside. He probably has the talent. I don't know where his health at. I'll just take a gamble that most people are off of him. And he's doing his thing. I think Tony Pollard is a really good running back. I think when he's healthy, he's just extremely good. And I think Dallas may just be awful at getting the most out of their players, right? Like you don't blame Chicago when people are bad because they're great when they leave.
He was behind like the 2 years prior or 3 years that he was on the team. The first year he was there was their best line year. Like that was the year their line was freaking awesome. Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden they fell off the face of the earth.
They make Zeke look good,
Wow. They were good back when Zeke was like the best running back out there. Like they were. I mean, Travis Frederick is one of the best centers to ever play. I loved him. He's not like
they were like the number 1 or 2 offense almost the entire year in terms of like a lot of metrics actually.
Yeah, they were a fairly good team, and Tony Pollard was just there, honestly. And then all of a sudden, he kind of got the shit end of the stick, but then ended up playing well with that, the shit end of the stick. So,
hey, got the bag though. Good for him. He's earning that every bit of that contract and destroying 100%. Tajay Spears' dynasty value.
For sure. And then, so you're definitely playing Tony Pollard if he's playing. It looks like he is. Calvin Ridley is sneakily being another guy that he has been playing real well as of late. He honestly, I didn't expect it. Since week 10, he's been wide receiver 17. He's been doing real well, getting a lot of targets, a lot of just a lot of run, even with Will Levis there, which I was really surprised about because there was one point in the season he had a duck or a goose egg, and I was like, huh? So Calvin Ridley is definitely a must start as of right now. Joe Burrow, you're loading him up if you have him. This is a great matchup for them. Titans are currently, let's look at their numbers. Titans are roughly 22nd against QBs since week 10 and are currently against wide receivers number 17. So they are pretty much
they can stop the run, okay, but that's the only thing they got in their bags.
Yeah, but to be fair, Chase Brown is not a running back they have really faced much, and Chase Brown is a must start in this game. He has been out of control. I have never seen this. I've never seen a guy as quick with quick feet like him.
Fighting a Illini, baby. Let's go.
Oh my God, man. He has been a
dude. Watch his college tape. Then you'll know why I was on. Dude, this guy was a 30 carry a game work horse.
Yeah, this guy
he's a tiny little guy. That's what everyone thought in the NFL. He was a ridiculous.
He had the
ridiculous
one
running
pass. He had the one pass, the out pass to that he got the touchdown on last week. I looked and I was like, huh? The hole that he had to get through was like this big, and he just slipped through it at the fastest freaking speed I've ever seen and got all the way in for the touchdown on that 40-yarder. It was incredible.
He earned it. I'm gonna get that, boys. I sold him in all my dynasty leagues where I'm not contending, I'm rebuilding. I sold him, but my asking price was we're going to start at a first, and that's where I'm starting it. A bunch of people thought I was crazy, and I told them all right now, I'm handing you a 20-point a game and the title, and in 3 weeks, either you're going to thank me or you're going to lose to whoever I sell him to.
It was either getting him or James Cook, and I went down James Cook, and I should have went Chase Brown.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think everyone scouted Chase Brown as much as like people like
I know.
You definitely, if you weren't on Chase Brown, you didn't have any reason to believe in the. He was kind of like a Tony Pollard for a while, right? Like he's good in flashes, but
he's behind
he can't be the guy,
Yeah.
right? You had to have actually watched him in college to see that he's a tiny little dude, right?
But he's quick and strong,
right?
They have no problem throwing him in there and just putting his shoulder down, and he is something else. Jamar,
we'll draft a workhorse next year, but I still like Chase
we'll
Brown.
see. Jamar Chase, you're playing him. T. Higgins, you're playing him. He's been actually pretty good the last few weeks.
Yeah, the recent stuff there too. Burrow saying we're going to do whatever we can to keep. There's no way Burrow's not trying to find him a touchdown this week. Yeah. I really feel that. Like I'm betting Jamar Chase, T. Higgins anytime touchdown. I'm definitely betting that.
I like it. So all these guys I'm playing.
Yeah, really love your take on Ridley. By the way, Ridley is inside my top 20. He's my wide receiver 18 this week. I'm pretty bullish on him. I think he's going to get 15 targets.
Oh wow,
they're playing. I mean, this game
bullets for me, but I say anywhere
there's
between.
Nobody. I mean, him and Westbrook Akine against the Bengals, who are going to put up what's Bengals' strength? Passing the ball. What do they not like to do? Run the ball. They like to
they've been
run through the air, right? So Tennessee's number one strength is completely useless against a team that is destroying people. Like I think there's a fireworks show. And on the other way, Will Levis wants to just chuck the ball as far as he can, as long as he can. And he's playing the Bengals.
Yeah.
Like this is the Thursday night game we deserve. That's what I'm calling it right now. This will be pretend this is the Thursday game.
I hope so.
That's how it's going to happen. It's going to be high flying. Stuff's going to get crazy. Will Levis kind of banged up is just going to be like, I'm just going to chuck this as far as I can and see what the hell happens.
Yeah, I mean, this is the third to fourth highest number. The first being the good old Bills and Lions game, which is at 54 at the moment,
baby.
Which means I'm hitting the
Ruskin
under.
gets to cover that one. I want that one so bad.
I'm just gonna hit the under on that game. I don't see that game going over. But it could, and if it does, I'm gonna be really happy.
Yeah. We all win if that goes over.
All my teams, every single team that I own has at least two Lions and two Bills in one way or another.
Oh, so you're in the playoffs everywhere.
Those teams I have in the playoffs. I have Josh Allen in a lot of them. I have a lot of James. I have James Cook. I have a lot of David Montgomery. I have a lot of I have a lot of JMO. So anyway, you're playing all those guys. You're playing all the guys we mentioned: Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, T. Higgins. You're playing Tony Pollard. You're playing Calvin Ridley. Mike Gesicki is one guy I probably wouldn't play unless I'm in a dire strait where I lost Evan Ingram or I lost, somebody else at tight end. I might play him. He's a break glass type of guy that I'm using as a streamer. But that's about it. I would rather play him if T. Higgins was out, but I have no problem playing him in a little bit of a start. He'll get 3 to 4 and, he'll get a deep shot once in a while. He is a good, stream guy, one of those guys that can run the seam and get him right down the middle. He's pretty good that way. Tajay, we'll see what happens. If Pollard is out, are you playing him?
Yeah. If he's out, I'd play him. He's a competent pass catcher, right? Like I don't expect a big game if he gets the solo start, but I do think he's going to catch 5 or 6 balls because of the matchup and the bad defense. So matchup plus a pass catching running back. I mean, you kind of have to, right? If he was a bruiser, maybe I wouldn't.
Okay. Fair enough. So yeah. So let's move right into the live Q&A right here. We are going to answer all your questions right here. So if you have questions, throw them in the chat if you haven't already. We're going to go all the way up until 11 o'clock, and then we're going to hand you guys off to Rasta and Phil. So make sure you guys throw your questions in now. First and foremost, we're going to start with Mr. Magic. What's going on, brother? Great to have you here today. You guys, he asks us, do you see McCormick being a top 20 rest of season player? It's very hard to tell you that answer, to be honest. I think we're going to both sit here and kind of twiddle our thumbs.
I'm leaning no, right? Rest of season's kind of an interesting tagline there, right? Because we're really talking about the playoffs. We're talking about this week and 2 more weeks, right? So just how does he do through the playoffs? I can't get him into my top 20 for all 3 games. I have a real problem with that overall offense, and I think he has a very low ceiling. But I would start him. There's those leagues where you're, again, thin waivers. Maybe it's got deep IR spots, so it's just a lot of the available talent on the waiver wire, as percentage-wise, has just kind of been drawn away.
You needed him 2 weeks ago.
Look, I have leagues where I've got Swift, Bucky Irving, and Kenneth Walker. Okay, in those absolute horror stories where you clearly made the playoffs because your team's good, but you're hitting the actual nightmare. Swift in particular is a nightmare. Monday night questionable. That's atrocious. These spots are where I'm playing Sincere McCormick, and I'm also slotting him in my flex over very questionable spots. Like I would play Sincere McCormick over maybe like a Xavier Worthy, who has a really low floor, and I want something safer, but I just don't see the consistent upside to be top 20 rest of season. Because to hit top 20 rest of season, the idea is it's easier to hit top 20 rest of season than it is in one particular game, right? Because someone will randomly have a big week. But in such a small sample size, I don't expect a big spike week from him. Realistically, I just don't see him doing that in that offense. I think an offense has to pass the ball more to make things happen. He's more an RB2 for me. I have him as kind of like probably RB 24 to 26 ish rest of season. So we're not far off, but those 4 to 6 guys I'm all playing for the next 2 to 3 weeks above him.
So to give a little bit of perspective for Sincere McCormick, the last 3 weeks he has finished 43rd, 36th, and 26th. He hasn't even reached the 20 mark yet. He has got an increase in touches the last 3 weeks, so we could see it in the next couple of weeks where he could be in that particular scenario. Falcons are currently one of those teams that are very good against the run and very good against running backs the last few weeks. The offensive line is nothing crazy, in my opinion, for the Raiders. He's involved sort of in the passing game. 2 targets, 2 receptions is his, what he's been at roughly. So am I relying on him? No. He's more of a high-end flex play if I need him in situations like Kendall mentioned, Walker, Bucky, bunch of unknown where I need a guy and I need, I want to have a clear idea. He's definitely someone that you should have on your team. He should be available for you. I have him in a few dynasty scenarios where I need it. I ended up picking up and, had him on my bench. So he is definitely somebody you should have. I don't know if he will finish the season at top 20, but he has potential because of volume, pure volume. So we'll see how that turns out. Mr. Bakes a Lot, can you come over to my house and cook and bake me some cookies? My wife will do it, but having someone else here to talk football would be cool. Jaden Reed or Ray McLeod full PPR.
Wow, that's where we're at with Reed now.
Do I have to lean Ray? I might lean Ray.
Does it have any like returning yardage in the league?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I can't do it. As much as I love Ray McLeod from back in the Steeler days, he looked good. Mooney's like one of my like mini like starts of the week. I'm a big Mooney guy, a Bears fan, so naturally Mooney's. Like
I like Mooney too, man.
I don't know. I feel like Ray McLeod's floor is so bad. And I'm off Kirk Cousins. I was never in on Cousins this year. I loved him in like previous years. I did. It's the Falcons. I'm like, the Falcons are the Falcons. And I'm a big believer in like organizational makeup will by the end of the season really have an effect on everyone in it. right? And you kind of see that. And that was me like, dude, the Falcons are going to be bad for Cousins. He'll be good for the Falcons, but the Falcons will be bad for him at some point in time. That being said, I don't know. I'm going Jaden Reed. I want the upside. Ray McLeod, I just, in the playoffs, I'm always looking for upside. I don't want 5 for 50.
Can I try to sway you? I'm going to try to sway you right now.
You know what? You've done it before pretty successfully, though. Honestly, you're the only guy that's been able to do it a few times, but I distinctly remember it. So
I'm going
I
to
don't
try
have this
right now.
question, but I do have Reed in a starting spot, and I've Ray in another league, so maybe it'll do something. Let's hear it.
So to give you perspective, weeks 10 through 14.
Okay.
Which I'm always at this time of year, I never use the full year. There's no point. You're using
Totally
right
agree.
now.
This is a great point. Seriously,
If you're looking at numbers, do not look at the whole season. You can use it as a blueprint to kind of give you an idea, but honestly, you should really only be kind of focusing on the last 5 weeks or so, just to give perspective of what your team is doing currently. And Jaden Reed only missed one of those games out of that week. So let's just make that clear. Ray McLeod.
It's full PPR too.
And this is full PPR. Ray McLeod is wide receiver 40 compared to Jaden Reed, who has been wide receiver 57. You drafted Jaden Reed. Now, right now, draft. I will tell you this. Where you drafted these guys does not fucking matter right now. Just know that. Just know that right now. I don't care if you drafted Jaden Reed in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, and you think that he should be playing. Rounds don't matter anymore. The last 5 weeks, he has been wide receiver 57. Ray McLeod, wide receiver 40. 21 receptions on 27 targets, 5 touchdowns, and 269 yards for Ray McLeod. Let's go to Jaden Reed. Oh, yeah. 8 catches, 12 targets, 73 yards, no touchdowns. I rest my case. I rest my case. I'm telling you.
Like,
I can
95 and 98 yards last 2 games.
Hold on. I'm going to move this to the last 2 weeks. Ray McLeod.
I mean, last 2 weeks is big. Last 2 weeks is way better than last 4 for him.
Well, Ray McLeod, 37th wide receiver. Let's look where Jaden Reed is, 47. A little bit closer, but still behind those numbers. They haven't been throwing the ball well with Jordan Love currently. They love running the ball with Josh Jacobs. They have been peppering Christian Watson for some God knows reason. And Romeo Doubs is the only other guy that we can talk about, but I don't know if he cleared
pretty sure
concussion.
He did, though.
I think he cleared. Did. And if he cleared concussion protocol, I do not want anything to do with Jaden Reed because it will be Romeo Doubs that they throw to. Ray McLeod.
All right, I'm going to tell you this. You have gotten dangerously close to convincing me.
I'm probably not going to because, like I said,
no,
we could all say
it's the upside case, and I still can't get there. Ray McLeod is still a 10-point-a-game guy.
I'm calling it.
I think you might be right that the chances that those 10 points are more than Jaden Reed scores 50%.
And you're going against the Raiders, who are horrible against the wide receiver.
Look, I'll say this right now. If you're projected to
Raiders,
win,
31st against the wide receiver.
I'm trying to figure out
best.
How much of a buffer would I need to start him though? Because right now Ray is my.
I have Ray starting in.
He's my safety. He'd be my safety blanket if I was like, dude, you give me 10 points, I win. But I cannot have 2. I can't have 2 points. If I were in that situation where I'm favored by like 20. I am at maybe someone who is heavily exposed to Thursday.
I'll give you an example.
All right.
I have a team with Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, and Jameson Williams as my wide receivers. I am not going to play Ray McLeod in that scenario. I would play him in my 14-team league that I'm in that I have the flex spot for him.
Man, you make a good case. You make a
Just saying.
shockingly good case. I'll be honest.
And
No
that's a
no
12
one
team
has
league,
made the Ray McLeod case as good as you have.
You give me numbers, and numbers don't lie. It's kind of hard not
Oh,
to.
it feels gross.
Especially, Jaden Reed has been playing like garbage lately. It has not been the same. Everyone had him as one of the better wide receivers. I remember looking at best ball drafts and seeing him go as early as like the 4th and 5th round, and I went, "Are you fucking kidding?"
Yeah,
And
that's
then
a
all
little
of a
much for me.
sudden, and like I knew the season he did well, but it just doesn't make any sense. So let's not play too much into this particular one thing. What's your answer? We got to move on. We got 20 minutes.
In full PPR, oh my god. You convinced me. I think I'm going Ray McLeod.
I love it. World of Guz. I think I got that
Damn,
right.
Wow.
Start
Good.
Ramondre Stevenson versus the Arizona Cardinals, Pacheco versus the Cleveland Browns, Tyrone Tracy versus the Ravens, or Breece Hall if he plays versus the Jags.
All right, I know my answer. My method is Breece. No. Even if he plays, he's just worse than these options. He's gonna have a low snap share. When I look at Ramondre, Pacheco, and then Tyrone really worries me against Baltimore. That matchup could be real gross, like real gross.
This is the easiest question.
I think Ramondre and Pacheco just have really nice matchups. Ramondre in particular is particularly nice.
Yep.
I think I'm going Ramondre against Arizona. I like that matchup a lot. Ramondre is the combo of he gets all the pass catching and he gets all the rushing and he's pretty decent running back. He's like a better version of Pacheco just right now. Pacheco might be better than him next week. The matchup's significantly better. I'm going Ramondre. It's
Pacheco's
close.
still getting his legs underneath him literally after the injury.
That's fair.
Ramondre, and it's not even close for me. And he's facing Arizona, who is 24th best.
Yeah, they're a sieve at run.
Done.
They got a good pass rush lately. Their pass rush is starting to look
their
real
pass
nice.
rush is insanely good, but their run game is bad. So right now, I am going to go with Ramondre. I think we both agree with Ramondre. Tank Bigsby or Elijah Moore at the flex. If you're still here, Ben, I would love to know if this is full PPR or half. If it's full, I will say I'd lean Elijah Moore. If it is half, I would lean Tank Bigsby.
I might go Elijah Moore in both cases because Bigsby's the guy, but man, what if they 50-50 it with ETN out of nowhere?
Fair
then
point.
It just kills Bigsby in a weird way.
I always prefer the running back because of the guaranteed of a touch comparatively to the guy that doesn't have the guarantee touch.
Yeah, and Bigsby has a big games. Like he also has legitimate ceiling that all other sort of like Sincere McCormick. Oh, I'm the starting running back. Guys, there's not a ceiling there. Bigsby, actually, I've seen it. He's talented. He's a real dude.
Jets are middle of the road at 20 against the running back.
Yeah, that's not where they're great at. I'm kind of still leaning. I mean, if it's PPR, it's for sure Elijah Moore. I get it. Half PPR, it's close. I'm still leaning Elijah Moore right now. I think. Yeah, it's pretty close.
I think. Well, but that's more volume based. I might, like I said, I feel a little bit better about Bigsby just because of the volume, comparative to Elijah Moore. It's just more guaranteed, in my opinion. So I think I might lean Tank, even though Elijah Moore is probably a better full PPR option.
I think the Jets are going to win, right? So, I think Bigsby, they're playing from behind from the first quarter, and I think that's kind of a challenge for me in that matchup. Bigsby could have 10 carries, and I don't know where the passing goes because they have quarterback issues. So there's a lot of red flags there where Elijah Moore, there's red flags, but everything's gone his way. And we've seen it. So
50 passes, he gets at least 10.
Yeah. It's at least worth mentioning that Bigsby is not like chalk.
No.
They have a negative game script.
Or no, he's running back 20. What is he? Running back 20 in most scenarios?
They could give him 18 carries, but it's really the passing game that needs to be involved in, but he's not the best pass catcher in the world.
I have him at running back 28, and currently I have Elijah at 45. Based on that, I'm gonna go Tank.
Yeah, I don't have Tank all fully ranked right now, but I just know I'm going Elijah over him. It's not far off. I'm throwing that.
They're very
matchup
close.
Says Tank doesn't give me enough upside.
Yep, fair enough. Roberto Perez, he goes, "What up, Roberto?" He goes, "Are y'all still starting JMO in a potentially high-scoring matchup or T. Higgins? I also have Chase."
Yeah, I'm going JMO if you have Chase too.
Yeah, I'm okay with playing.
It's close
J-Mo
enough
over.
where like
Yeah,
we both like T, right? We think he's good. But
100%.
are you kind of on the track of like, dude, J-Mo led the team in targets and catches the other day? Like he's
and
developing some consistency where he's not a deep ball or bust guy. He's actually getting 8 targets a game now. In that game against the Bills, I mean, if you're going to get some high scoring, like that's the game, right? Where, in my opinion, I think T might not be needed. That game could be fun, but it doesn't have to be.
And honestly, Bills are currently 29th against the wide receiver in the last 5 weeks. I feel a little bit better about J-Mo if you had to start him. I understand the not wanting to use T. Higgins with Jamar Chase. Completely understand it. I just used Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua last night. Not my favorite idea in the world, but I have no other choices because that's just what I have.
Yeah, and
so,
that's a 2 wide, similar to T and
but
Chase.
they're on high-powered,
offenses where it's 2
high-passing.
wide receivers, not 3. Like you can get away with it. It's
But
fine.
it's because of the potential. So in situations like this and situations like the Rams, you have 2 QBs that throw the ball more than 30 times a game. Then it's okay. And Joe Burrow loves to throw the damn ball in the red zone. So to be honest, I don't care if I'm playing Higgins over each. I have T. Higgins ranked higher than J-Mo. I don't care about the 45-point over-under for the Bills and Lions.
I have T over him in my rankings as well.
I'm okay about if you were to want to start J-Mo over him to diversify your funds. But I don't think that it's fully necessary, to be fair.
Yeah, this one's particularly close for me. I
mean,
I don't want to get burned by necessarily. I clearly have T ranked higher.
Yeah,
I just personally,
I'm
I want to chase that game. Like I'm looking at oftentimes I'm looking at the day trader bracket of like just like what's my game script like ceiling and floor, and the particular combo is T's floor is not there. It's just not.
I was gonna say J-Mo's floor isn't there compared to his ceiling. His ceiling's higher than T. Oh yeah.
I just think when I look at like their involvement in their offense, like J-Mo earns more targets and is schemed up more, where T is never schemed open. The big skill, like he just happens to be open. And then on top of that, if the game is, I don't know, I feel like there's weird scripts where like T just wasn't involved the other day.
Both defenses are very bad against the pass, so I'm not really too concerned about either or. I feel a little bit better about T than I would J-Mo just because I rank T. Higgins higher, but it's significantly higher. Like I have T. Higgins at 12 and I have J-Mo at 39. So to give perspective, I understand your dilemma of playing both guys. It's okay.
This one's close, man. I'm like looking at T's last couple of. I own T everywhere.
I have T.
It's a weird thing where I feel like it's better if you don't own T, because if you do own him, you just hate him and you tend to throw him out.
I mean, he was wide receiver 8, 3, and then 16, and then he fell to 60 against Dallas. So I understand the conundrum that people have because J-Mo went the other way. J-Mo the last few weeks has been wide receiver 30, 32, 53, and 30. So the range of outcomes for him, and then he had a wide receiver 6 in week 11 versus Jacksonville, but that's because it was Jacksonville. So my whole point is that you have a wide range of outcomes. It looks like it varies with J-Mo. You have a little bit more stability with T.
I think you're kind of right. I'm just burned because
that's all I'm saying.
Like T was on a run, and then last week he just absolutely
understood. And but that's how that particular grouping works.
Yeah,
it's either that's
why. How important is the matchup to you? Because but we both clearly say perfectly neutral script.
Remember, every matchup this week is going to be that way because of the fact that the game on Thursday was dog shit. Like
no, I mean not that. I mean like the fact that they're playing the Bills and the Bills have been consistently putting
no. Well, that's my point. I mean, they could just lay. That's my point. I don't think either or is a bad move, but I think that if you're debating the concept of not starting him because you have Chase, means nothing.
That's a mistake, right? Yeah. Because you're giving up some upside, but you're absolutely stabilizing your floor.
You have a steadier floor with T. Higgins than you would with J-Mo. J-Mo is a ceiling, but the ceiling, he has a infinite ceiling compared to T.
I agree with that, and don't let the two on the same team be the tiebreaker there. Like really look at look at the players. This one I think is so close. Happy to start them both, but I get it. It's the playoffs. You don't want to be wrong here. That's a tough one. You might have convinced me over the T side of things, though. When T had a bad game last week, but I look at a 3-game sample. I wanted to see how involved he was.
He was 8-3-16.
I don't like that he's catching 50% of his passes, but I do like seeing 80 yards, 150
But
yards.
he's getting the volume.
Zone.
He's getting the volume where needed, and that game could go either way, to be honest.
Yeah.
Both defenses, they have to stay in it. I'm telling you. They'll be fine.
I think you're right on that one.
So, Jelly of the Month. I love it. Evening, fellas. So, what up? He goes half PPR flex and should be a favorite.
He's a favorite. Okay.
Pacheco or Waddle?
I'm going
to lean
sure.
Pacheco, and it's really just because it's half. It makes more sense.
And you should be a favorite.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Let's go to Derek. Full PPR. Sit 1. Oy.
Wow.
Garrett Wilson, Higgins, or Shakir. Gross.
Gross. Yeah. Also,
I think Higgins would be the sit here.
good draft. Good draft.
Good I
you
think
playing
I'm going to be
Shakir over Higgins though. That's close for me. Wow. That
well,
is close.
because if you're going to give me an option in this matchup to play Shakir, I'm playing Shakir.
Shakir or Higgins. I'm starting Garrett Wilson.
But I'm playing Garrett Wilson I'm starting. Higgins and Shakir are the two that I'm fighting over. I would probably Shakir's
been great for them in matchups where they need him.
And I have him ranked higher, and it's really
Snap share is abysmal though. Good God, get him on the field more. What are we doing?
He's been 32, 35, 70, and 9. Higgins has the safer floor. But the volume, if you look at the volume alone, he has had since week 7, 10, 7, 9, 12, 7, 8 targets.
He doesn't drop the ball. The yardage worries me a little bit.
His yardage falls anywhere between 100 and
ADOT's not great.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I'm going with the line here to give myself an upside because the Higgins line, as much as he both can throw it, but then if Josh Allen takes over the game.
That's where I'm at. Is there a game script where somehow, even though it's supposed to be a blowout game, a big scoring game, is just a run fest? Because they both want to run the ball to some degree. Like Detroit wants to run the ball. Bills want to run the ball. What if they both just decide we're both going to run the ball against each other and see who wins?
We have to make it a decision.
T. I'm sitting Shakir. I'm playing T over Shakir. I want upside.
Okay, perfect. And so we differ on that one, and that's okay. We're allowed to differ there. Derek asks another question. Full PPR flex. Oh, dude, I have this same exact question. We were just talking about it. I'm playing Zach Charbonnet over Monty. Honestly, the reason being, and I'm going to give you the reason here.
I agree, by the way, 100%.
He's giving his list of running backs, which are H.A. Gibbs and Monty and Charbonnet.
Oh, he's got similar.
I don't have Gibbs in this one, but here's the thing. I don't care about diversifying this grouping because Gibbs and Monty can live with each other. It's fine. They're run enough that it don't matter. Yeah, they're both RB1s. But Charbonnet has higher upside because of the fact that he gets 80% snap share. 2, he gets more than 20 touches a game. What was the text I sent you guys with the
83.5 and 23.5?
I mean, come on. And they're going against the Packers, who are, I think, 29th against the running back in the last 4 weeks. I think is the number. Let me see. No, they've been a little bit better against the run, but not. Oh no, they've been worse. They've been 30th. So they are 30th against the run. I want all of Charbonnet that I can. And if you look at Matthew Berry's love-hate, he has him there too. Anthony goes, I traded Chase in our Get Right Dynasty League for a 27 first and a 26 third.
Stole him.
I would have gave a 26 first, but unfortunately, I didn't think about it. So go, Anthony.
Yeah, everyone thought I was crazy when I'm like, I'm getting a first minimum for him, and I say minimum.
I would have gave him more. Flex 2, Bowers, Brian Robinson, McBride, Hopkins, Brian Thomas Jr., and
Whoa.
Johnny Smith.
That's
All
a
right.
10-team league. If I've
My
ever seen one.
assumption is it's going to be it's full PPR here. We got to run through these. We got 4 minutes to hand off till
Rapid fire.
we hand everything off. So we're going to run through these quick, boys and girls. Off the cuff. Full, and it doesn't look, and if I remember correctly, Perry doesn't have a tight end spot.
I'm going
so
B-Rob McBride.
B-Rob McBride?
Yep. McBride
Okay.
over Bowers for me, and B-Rob over everybody.
I'm going to go Bowers, and I'm going to go McBride. I'm going to go with the 2 tight ends. Perry goes Winston over Hurts given the matchup. No. Do not. This time of year, do not play around.
Hurts has downside. He has real downside. He's hit or miss. Or sorry, Winston has volatility. Hurts is safe as it gets.
Yeah. You want to play your studs. Do not overthink it.
Yeah, no.
I am the perfect example of
Jameis next week. We can talk about that, but not this week. I picked him up to play next week, not this week.
There you go. Perry goes Broncos, Arizona, or Chiefs defense this week. I'm probably going to be leaning the Chiefs.
I think it's Chiefs, yeah.
Arizona is Patriots and Chiefs are Broncos. Who are Broncos playing? The Indy?
Oh, I'm going Broncos. Yeah, Broncos against A-Rich. I mean, A-Rich, Jameis Winston, A-Rich are kind of the quarterbacks.
No, I'll go Broncos. Yeah, I like Broncos. Well, it's between Broncos and Arizona, but I don't hate the Chiefs D. I'm going to go Broncos here. I like the Broncos matchup. Laporta or Ertz, I'm going Laporta.
Going Laporta. I like the matchup. Huge over-under. There's a chance he literally comes down with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I like that too. Baker or Jameis?
I'm going Jameis this week.
I'm going to go Jameis as well. Perry goes, is Jetta's a scary play, even how his last match went? I have Hopkins, BTJ on bench. No, I am not going to sit. I am not sitting Justin Jefferson for any of them.
Don't look at last week too much. We got to go really, really quick here. Sleeper actually came out with a quick graphic. If you look at it, Justin Jefferson is when he plays 80% of snaps, the chance that he has 80 plus receiving yards, I think, was kind of the little mini, little graphic that was up there. He's actually one of the most consistent wide receivers in NFL history, of the league, when he plays 80% plus of snaps. Last week was a little bit weird. Quarterback's elite. He's elite. No. You have to.
Yeah. Don't overthink it.
2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row, we can talk, but no.
Yeah. Scott White, what's going on? He says, do you think Sincere McCormick is a sure thing to be a lead back over Madison and Abdullah this week? Yes.
Not just this week.
110,
100% guaranteed. Coaching staff agrees, so does everybody else. And Coach Prime will tell him not to otherwise, yeah.
You're so right. Pick 1 wide receiver, 1 flex, half PPR. McConkey, Addison, Waddle, McCormick, and Downs.
Addison McConkey, if he's healthy.
Addison and McConkey if he's healthy, McCormick if he's not. Look who we have.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Speak of the Dan Devil, answering your own question. What's up, brother?
I'm not answering it. I need to hear what you
I know.
guys have
We
to
already
say.
did.
How's it going, guys?
And he said also 3-point bonus for 100 and 3-point bonus for, I'm assuming, receiving too. So I'm going Addison and McCormick.
I'm going Addison and
that happens.
I think Lad's healthy in a nice matchup. I think he gets there. I'm going Addison and Lad McConkey.
I would go McConkey if he's healthy, but if you have to wait,
I'm with you on the pivot if we have to.
Yeah, you pivot to McCormick if you can. All right, let's move to Jelly of
That's
the
how
month.
just for the record, that is how I have it set right now. So I do have McConkey in my wide receiver 2 and Addison in my flex.
I like it. I like when we get those things right. So we get Jelly,
and you're in this league, Classic Mike. You're in that league.
Oh, I don't. Is this the league that I'm not currently in the playoffs?
I didn't say that. You brought it up.
Only
I just said
by I'm only what 9th out of 12. I had a bad year and I had Stroud, but I had all good players otherwise. And I only grabbed Bo Nix at the last minute. Anyway,
that's what they all say.
Which I now have as a keeper for the last round of our particular keeper draft.
Too.
Which
let's go.
Anyway, so other league full PPR and have a bye. Good for you.
Hey, attaboy Jelly.
Stick with Minnesota's D versus Seattle or stream Green Bay Indy or Atlanta. I'd probably move ahead of Week 15 games. So what I like to do in these scenarios is if I have a bench spot available for Week 16, I start looking for Week 16 matchups, which he is. My week 16 matchup that I like a lot, I think, is the Falcons going against my Giants, I believe, if memory serves me correctly.
They're a big stash for next week.
So I'm stashing the Falcons for sure. Like the Falcons are the team I'm looking for.
I agree.
I don't do any of that. I don't mess with the fantasy gods that way. I focus and put all my energy towards Week 15.
Hey, he's got a bye. He earned it, bro.
Yeah, he earned that. So I don't blame you. I'd go for the Falcons there. Jose Rodriguez, what's going on, brother? He goes 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Lamb, Connor, Evans, AJ Brown, or Dwaddle. Rico Dowdle.
I like that. As if he ever starts sucking out of nowhere, though, it's over. It's Dwaddle, baby.
Oh my god. Yeah, I know. I don't have him anywhere, so I don't say his name often. God, this has to.
I'm going with him this week, though. It is Lamb and Dowdle for me.
Really?
I think Dowdle's going to have 150 rushing yards.
Ugh.
He had 120 something the other day, and this matchup's better.
I'll go Dowdle for the flex.
Dowdle is my RB13.
He's my RB12.
I'll go Dowdle as the
RB1
flex.
this week.
And we're right there.
I don't like.
I'd like to know who you have ahead, because.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Lamb. Yeah, it works.
I've got some guys I'm just fully off of though. Like I've got some top guys that I'm fully.
I mean, to give you perspective,
I have Rashad White at 12. That's why. I'm sure that's why.
I've got James Cook at RB 16.
I have him at 16. I have Dowdle at 20.
Ooh, I have Cook at 22. I'm not feeling.
I got JT down there. JT is my RB 15 right now too. So
I have him at 15 as well. Right now I have.
18. See, I'm fading even more than you guys are.
Yeah.
You thought you were crazy. You're just a little crazy.
I might honestly, I might have to move him up a little bit, but I currently like him in this spot. I might move him to 17.
Move him down. Just come on, move him down.
No, I'm gonna move Dowdle up. I said.
Chet, this is we change our rankings based on every single text message we get from the rest of the group. If you haven't figured it out already, you listen to the show. We listen to each other 6 to 7 times a day, just to let you know. So it's all good.
If you ever want to know our rankings, just check our website at www.getrighff.com. We will always have our rankings in there. They're always posted.
Except for this week, because I'm pretty sure Frank didn't do it before he went to Cancun.
I have the website pulled up because I was checking it.
I do it every Tuesday. Tuesday.
He was gone Monday, man. I was
anyway,
like, that is not happening. And he's the only one who knows how to do it. That's like the one thing in my company.
Anyway, whatever.
It's the one thing I don't do.
Any week but this week, you will have those rankings there. Normally, we have them up there, and they are updated, and they update once we do things. So they always are changing and always are evolving based on whatever happens during the week. So just keep an eye on those. Let's get last question. What?
No, you're good. Last question, baby.
Oh, last question. Jay Silva. He goes, how you would set my lineup. All right, so let's set his lineup for him. Full PPR. We got Josh Allen, Tua. Josh Allen without taking points. Hey, what's up, brother?
How's it going?
I'm just sitting in the other studio like a jackass, just by myself. Like, where's all my friends?
I've got the whole 49ers contingent in the house.
Like,
did
we're not going to talk about that game.
Does anyone agree with you guys? I was defending you to the nth degree earlier, and I think Classic had to cut me off.
Take.
But I'm pretty fired up. Me and Stephen A. Smith about to go to blows this week. Get him off air. Trash.
Only bad throw.
Trash.
Besides. All right, the interception wasn't even a bad throw. It was a beautiful throw.
It was fine. Yeah.
He just threw it to the wrong guy.
To be fair, his wide receiver also gave up on the play before he threw the ball.
He did.
That's what I mean. Yeah. But the one that was bad was the Ricky Pearsall at the end. Yeah, to me, that was the worst throw. Like, because that still even somewhat gave us a chance to at least Hail Mary, but then he took the sack anyway. So
that was just mentally he was done.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
Last question. We're gonna set Jay Silva's lineup. So, quarterback, Allen or Tua? I think we can all agree that's Josh Allen, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Running back, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, Tyrone Tracy. I don't know how
Kamara,
many.
JT?
I'm assuming 2. So let's
Kamara
go with
and
2.
JT.
Yeah, that's where
Kamara,
I'm at.
JT. There's not
And
much.
then
I
it's
can do
Tracy
here.
Najee is just my order, just for
Okay.
SDGs.
And then wide receiver, I'm going to assume it's 2, but let's pick 3 just to be safe.
You want to do
And
a
we can
2 and then give a third? So he has an either or? Yeah.
Exactly. And then we can it doesn't say that there's a flex. So we're good there. So Puka.
I assume you already started Puka.
I was going to say, you already started Puka here. London T Higgins, I'm assuming. Devontae Smith, Shakir. Those are your options. So I'm going to say let's pick 2 to be safe.
I'm basically in that same order except for swap Smith and Shakir.
I agree.
I'm in order
except for the switch.
Yeah.
I am not. I would play Higgins over London.
Ooh,
Higgins over London.
Spicy.
Okay.
Have you seen Kirk Cousins play football lately?
Oh yes.
Yeah,
but
have you seen how many targets he's been getting?
Have you seen Joe Burrow play football lately?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a point. He's got a point. That's close for me.
Did you see what T. Higgins did last game?
Yeah,
because
we had that debate before.
I had to go deep, Ross. I had to go look at T.
dog.
Higgins' previous 3 games, and
what T. Higgins
the
did
previous
last
3
game.
are pretty good.
Fair enough.
Jamar
And
Chase.
then-
I mean, as much as we need him to, Jamar Chase isn't going to do that every single week as much as we want him to.
Hey, for the next 3 weeks, by all means, let's go.
You will not do that.
Tight ends?
McBride.
Tight
That's not
ends.
even a
I mean,
question.
this is not even thinking twice.
Both of these aren't
McBride
even
for all
questions.
of
This
us.
is McBride and Broncos, and
Broncos.
good luck beating the snot of whoever you're playing.
Yeah. Good
Your
team.
lineup looks nasty.
Very nice team. Very nice team.
We
Jay
like
Silva.
it there, Jay Salva. So thank you, everybody. We're going to hand you off to these 2 at the bottom real quick.
Outta here.
So they're going to get out of here. We're going to just hand you guys right off to them. So don't worry. They're not going too far. We're just going to do a couple little reads, and then we're going to get you guys right over to them. Make sure, if you've been seeing this in the top left corner the whole time, or right corner. I should have been talking about them the whole time. Underdog. Make sure you guys check them out if you haven't already. Make sure you guys are using the promo code GETRIGHT, and when you do, they will help you at checkout. They will help you up to 50% of your deposit. So you put in 10, they'll give you 5. You put in 20, they'll give you 10. So make sure you guys are registering at Underdog using promo code GETRIGHT, and in the states that allow it, of course. When you do, they will give you this Jordan Love free pick for pick'ems. So if you're into pick'ems, this involves like stats. You get to pick higher or lower on the player's stats, touchdowns, things like that. So make sure you guys check out Underdog and use promo code GETRIGHT. Also, make sure you guys are checking out our affiliates with our guy right here, Kendall Vanderbilt. Make sure you guys are checking out the Fantasy Football Tavern, as well as the guy that you just saw below, Phil Ruskin, at the Extra Point. And then, of course, our very own Fantasy Football Tycoon, the Fantasy Football Boardroom. Check out Tycoon and the Fantasy Football Boardroom. Also, make sure you guys check out Cody and Jack Jake. Sorry.
Zach and Cody on Saturdays.
Check them out every Saturday. They're here giving you guys good football takes and getting you guys ready for Sunday. If you guys are new to the channel, this is the whole lineup. We're here 7 days a week, so make sure you guys check that out as well. I'm not going to hold that up the whole time. Whew, we did it, Kendall.
Woo, we did it.
We
Hit
got
us up on
through it.
Sleeper. If you guys missed the show,
yeah.
YouTube, you can rewatch everything, so please rewatch. Timestamps are in there. We get it. You're not going to watch the whole thing for 2 hours. By the way, if you pass out, though, keep it on. Watching it in the background of whatever you're doing helps the channel out a lot. So if you're just chilling out at work, you want to listen to something, listen to this in the background. Super, super helpful. Yep. A couple of guys I follow recommended that to me. I just keep it on. Very, very good. If you guys have questions, though, and you missed the show, it's during the week, things happen. Keep in mind, we're on X, right? You see in the
This is my X handle. I have this same handle.
That's mine too, I think.
Sleeper.
My name, yeah.
Yeah, this is my same handle on Sleeper, just with hyphens in between each name. So make sure you guys, if you guys can always reach out. We're always there to help you guys.
Point is, we're the gens. We answer everything. Classic, I have never texted him a fantasy football question. He didn't answer 2 to 3 times, not just once, but several times within about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'm very
open.
sure he has no life outside of fantasy that's good for all of us, though.
No kids at the moment.
None
so
of us
I have a
here
little more
have
time on
lives
my hands than most of everybody.
No, but it's us. We're here for you. Like we love this. I can speak. Like I
also
throw out a
on
ton of
Blue
questions
Sky.
to these guys.
We are on Blue Sky as well. So check us out there too. I run that page.
So we're just plugging each other endlessly because we're buds
yeah.
over here. But the point is, we're not going to charge you anything. Hit us up for questions. We really care about you making your playoffs and doing really well because we're doing the same thing. It's a fun community, but send us your questions even off stream. We will actually get back to you.
Yeah. So Jay Silver says, appreciate the help. Really, what I am struggling with is the running back 2 and wide receiver 2 and flex. I'm starting Kamara and JT, but I'm worried about JT's matchup. So am I. I didn't start him in one of my leagues, but I have a bunch of – I'm playing Cortland Sutton over him in a full PPR. And then it's and wide receiver 2 is T. Perfect. Thinking of Shakir over London. I don't disagree, and if you want to go with Phil's take on the concept of the quarterback, I understand why you would, but London has been very heavily involved the last few weeks, or in general. He's out there and gets plenty of targets. I'm trying to look up the numbers that I had. Hold on.
It's kind of a philosophy thing, right? It's like Shakir has the better quarterback and the better matchup, right? London is.
I don't know about the better. I don't know about the better matchup, but it's definitely a
over under. I should say. Sorry, implied team total is I guess the more technical stat. Where like London is objectively a better player than Shakir. Yeah. He is objectively in a worse situation. So it's like, what philosophy do you go with? And like, Phil had a philosophy that he's going with, right? Because he's choosing the quarterback. If you want Phil's philosophy, you take Shakir because he's taking the quarterback.
Just
right?
to give you perspective, weeks 10 through 14, they kind of are right next to each other. 39 for London, 42 for Shakir.
So it's a coin flip for me. I think you really have to go with your own gut feeling.
London.
It's, do you typically pick the better quarterback, or do you typically pick talent on the field? Go with that because they're super close in all of our rankings. We had an internal debate about it, which means you're in good shape either way.
Yeah, I mean, I like the matchup a little bit better. Even with Kirk Cousins being involved, they're playing the Raiders, who are bad against the wide receiver. They do have a good pass rush with, Max Crosby. But other than that, I like I like the matchup, and I'm okay with playing.
Hopefully we've given you the whys behind it. Choose what why you agree with and the reason. Don't pick which analyst you like best. Really think it out. There's going to be a take that you agree with because it fits your philosophy. Go with that, right? Like I would ride and die on that. And if it doesn't work, you might change your philosophy, but stick to what speaks to you too.
Exactly. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for those that were involved. Jay Silva, Derek, Jose Rodriguez, Jelly of the Month, Mr. Bakes a Lot, Anthony, of course, Scott, Perry Williams, as always. So make sure you guys check us out moving forward. We really do appreciate it. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their week. Kendall, always a pleasure. As always, thanks for joining me tonight. Always love having him here. We're going to hand you guys off to Rasta and Phil. So enjoy the rest of the night. I hope everyone has a wonderful week 15, unless you're facing me. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Peace out, everybody.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking off and